Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 38, 62 overall of MJ Radio, the one and only podcast in Spanish that communicates and discusses Michael Jackson's news, life, and career. Eddie Garcia is a dancer and choreographer that, to us, is known for working with Michael Jackson, but he also has worked with many other artists, such as Jennifer Lopez, Paula Abdul, Sheryl Crow, Adam Lambert, Brandy, Queen Latifah, Jane's Addiction, Rita Moreno, Dolly Parton, and many, many more. In his career, he also has had the experience to work in all type of entertainment mediums such as film, stage, festivals like Coachella, late night shows, TV specials, and TV series such as Saved by the Bell, or plays like Rent, films like Bringing Down the House with Steve Martin, Our Family Wedding with Forrest Whitaker, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Of course, Bad and Dangerous World Tours, the Super Bowl, music videos, commercials, workshops, and I could go on and on. Eddie Garcia, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to our show.
¡Hola!
¡Bravo!
Bienvenido.
Bienvenido. Sí.
Yeah.
Gracias.
En este programa vamos a estar oyendo inglés-español de manera alternada porque resulta que Eddie pertenece a nuestra comunidad de hispanohablantes. Entonces, Eddie también ahí habla y entiende muy bien español, así que va a ser todavía súper interesante estar escuchando de alguien que habla nuestro idioma y que fue tan cercano al trabajo de Michael Jackson. Entonces, nos da muchísimo gusto tenerte aquí, Eddie. Muchísimas gracias por aceptar la invitación y por darte el tiempo para estar aquí. Así que vamos a platicar sabroso y a gusto de tus historias que
Gracias,
tienes.
gracias.
Oye, que yo no creo que haya muchos hispanos, ¿no?, que trabajaron con Michael, así es que creo que son pocos.
Dominic era mexicano.
Dominic, Dominic, the last name, what?
Lucero.
Ah,
Okay.
Era mexicano. He was on the Bad Tour.
okay.
So, when we got the job, sorry, this is where I'm, because I think in English, Michael wanted to make sure that we all represented different parts of the world. But Dominic, he was Mexican, but I also believe someone in his family was either Japanese or like, I'm not sure, but so it drew Michael to want to have him.
Oh, a mixture.
Yeah.
Mixture.
He wanted to have a mix on stage. That's why we were all different, like different hair colors and different backgrounds. Yo soy cubano, tú sabes,
Cubano.
you know. Yeah. So that was fun for me, you know. But people didn't know. They didn't know what we were, you know, because we were supposed to be anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
¿Y cómo decía Michael tu apellido? ¿O no te llamaba?
¿Una más? ¿De qué?
How did he pronounce your last name, or he didn't?
He never said my last name. He always called me Eddie.
Eddie. Okay.
Eddie, ven aquí. Eddie.
¿Te hablaba en español? ¿Te llegó a hablar en español?
No, nunca. Pero he always called me Eddie. You know, Eddie. Yeah, and the first time I met him, he knew my name because I had worked with his sister. So, like, he goes, Eddie, you know my sister. And I was like, what? No.
Yes, regular.
Well, it was, you know, yo tenía 17 años. Y yo estaba trabajando in Smooth Criminal. Y, you know, my teachers taught me to, when I was on a set, to always be quiet. You know, and just pay attention. So, we were at the beginning of the video where he's standing by the door, and we were on a little break, and he turned to me and he goes, Eddie, you know my sister. And I was like, oh, what? And I didn't know how but then he had seen her videos, duh, you know, so that's how our first conversation started, you know, and it's because of her.
Yeah. Ya te conocía de alguna manera.
Well, yeah. In a video of her in Nasty, I do a bunch of turns.
Yeah, and very impressive.
He liked to turn, so that was I think what made him want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he wanted to know if it was real or if it was like a camera trick. Because like Flashdance had just come out, and they used a camera trick in that to make the turns look like they went on longer. But in Nasty, we didn't use a camera trick. You know, it was just me turning. which was hard because it was late at night and we were on a real street and it was tilted. So it wasn't straight. So we were kind of on a hill.
Oh.
Yes.
Only a few of us have the talent to do that.
Who's that?
Somos pocos.
Es el Gen García, Jason, ¿estás diciendo?
Sí, los García podemos.
Una margarita y todo está bien.
Yeah. No, I just dance for fun. Bailo por gusto, porque me gusta Michael y es todo. Yeah.
But I always encourage people, it's so important to dance because you love it and not because you're trying to prove things to people. And that's what I try to teach that to the kids I teach, because sometimes they're driven by competitiveness, like to get the trophy, to win first. And I wasn't brought up to do that, because I was brought up just to love it for what it was. So I try to pass that along to them, because now with the pandemic, there's no competitions. So what do you have left? So a lot of them have been really struggling, because their sense of who they are and what they've learned to look forward to isn't there. Because they're not going to the competition to try to get the first place. They're actually having to hang out, when they can. And like at the studio, we have everything mapped out so that we're not within it's pretty 6 feet to 10 feet. We wear masks, so that makes it a little difficult because you can't see my face. I mean, you see my eyeballs, but you don't see my mouth. So I have to speak slower, which I'm not doing right now, but and so it's challenging because you want to keep them engaged. And I think that's what I learned being on tour. Michael taught me about always keeping the audience engaged, keeping them feeling like they're part of the show also. We're doing the show up on the stage, but they're part of it because they feed us the energy that we have to respond to. So it's not just getting up there and just doing the same thing every night. Sometimes things would be a little different and you had to respond, and so I'm always grateful for that.
Fíjate que eso de las vueltas obviamente no es nada fácil, porque yo tengo un video donde en el trabajo con un compañero que también le gustaba mucho bailar, una vez me retó porque le dije, a mí me gusta Michael y yo puedo bailar y todo, y me dijo, a ver, ¿puedes hacer las vueltas? Le dije, claro que puedo, pero yo en realidad no puedo porque no soy muy bueno, me mareo muy rápido, I lose balance real quick.
Oh.
So, le dije, no, sí puedo, trying to prove, like you said. Y me dijo, órale, dale. Y fuimos y él le dio 3 vueltas. But he did it like you did, como tú lo haces, levanta el pie, así como...
un pirouette.
Ajá, y yo lo quería hacer como Michael, y Michael lo hace con los 2 pies abajo.
Los talones,
and on his heels,
sí,
which is different.
Exacto. Y yo me le hice así, y pues me caí.
I can teach you a trick, though. I know many tricks.
Okay, sí. Todos se rieron y todo, pero bueno, ni modo, me caí. It's not easy. No es fácil para nada hacer esas vueltas.
Yeah. What's funny is about turning is like Michael taught himself.
Yeah.
He taught himself watching Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and those dancers. He wanted to dance like him. And if you watch him and when he does some of his solos, he's actually recreating Fred Astaire solos, like what he was doing tap dancing. Mm-hmm. So it's really it's a beautiful thing if you can see them side by side. It's really neat. There's things from Bandwagon that we recreated everything for Smooth Criminal.
Sí.
Yeah.
And that was, he was like, we're not going to do exactly what they did, but we want you to be inspired by them. And then Vincent Patterson would sat us down 2 at a time to watch Bandwagon. And he goes, see that guy, you're going to be him. So get inspired by him. And then I would have to watch that person through the whole dance, like what they were doing. Oh, they do this crazy little thing I do at the beginning where I'm doing. I was the youngest, so they're like, oh, he can do the duck walks. That's what they're called. Nowadays, I couldn't do that because I'd probably stay on the ground. I'd be like, oh.
Muy difícil. Sí.
Wow.
Entonces, habíamos escuchado por ahí un rumor de que esta semana estuviste de cumpleaños, ¿es cierto o no?
Yeah.
11 de agosto.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Yeah. Feliz cumpleaños.
Gracias.
¿Le vamos a cantar las mañanitas o qué?
Yeah.
Podemos-
51.
Oh, oye, muy bien, felicidades.
Muy bien.
Gracias.
Tengo que salir un minutito a recibir un delivery, entonces voy a apagar tantito aquí la cámara, pero continúen, ahorita regreso un minutito.
Ok, vuelves para
Amazon.
cantar las mañanitas. Algún libro de Michael le ha llegado, yo creo.
Sí.
She's always she has a huge collection of books on Michael.
Yeah, I saw her books in the background.
Yeah, she's got all of them, and we don't, but she does.
She has all of them.
That's great.
Yeah, on pictures, on songs, on stories, biographies, everything.
Yeah.
She's got them all.
Everything.
I got the audios though. I got the music.
That's awesome.
She's got the
that's
books.
great.
Yeah. All right. ¿Le seguimos tú y yo solos o le esperamos?
Sí, le seguimos.
Okay.
Ok, dale.
Eddie, ¿cómo fue que llegaste a trabajar con Janet siendo tan joven?
Yo estaba tomando una clase y Paula Abdul fue a la clase a ver si había bailarín que podía usar para el video.
Ajá.
Y después de la clase me habló y querían saber si yo quería hacer un video para Janet. Y ellos, at that time, she was just like, she was Michael's little sister. She wasn't like Janet, like how we see her now. And she was super talented. So I went home and I asked my parents, yo puedo bailar con Janet Jackson? Okay. Y yo no creo que ellos sabían que yo tenía 16 años. Y no me preguntaron, so yo no dije nada.
No parecías de 16, no.
No, parecías mayor. Ajá.
16 años. Yo estaba bailando con adults. So most of the dancers that I danced with were adults. And my particular group of kids that I danced with, we all danced with the adults. So I think
ellos asumieron que
Yeah.
era mayor.
they just assumed. And Paula knew, like later, she told me, she goes, oh, no, I knew how old you, because she knew.
Okay.
And yeah, she was sweet. I mean, she gave me my first really big dance shot, and I'm so grateful to her. And all of my teachers, this has been a really bittersweet week because the dance studio that I was a part of in Hollywood is having to close because of everything that's happened with the pandemic. The owners of the property sold the property. So now they have to close, it's a shame because we're losing our dance history here in Los Angeles. And I just feel like, we'll move on, and Edge was a basically the second version of the studio that I came from called Dupre's. And so it's been bittersweet. I mean, we all have memories of dancing there and growing as dancers together. So to see that go, it's just been, it's been sad, but it's also been really super happy because we do have a lot of good memories.
¿Cómo escribes Dupre's?
Dupre's is Dupree. And a funny story about Roland Dupre, who owned Dupre's. He was the model for the original Peter Pan cartoon from Walt Disney. So, like, if you look him up online and you look up Roland Dupre, you'll see black and white pictures of him dressed like Peter Pan with the girl that they modeled Wendy after, and you'll see them in doing all of the action. It's really cool.
Did you ever tell MJ that?
No, I don't think we ever talked about it. I know. I think it's so funny. We would talk about things. Like I said, I never really bothered him too much. It's just like most of the time it was, are you having fun? Is everything fun? Are you enjoying yourself? The day I got to, I don't know if there's a picture of me and Bubbles and Michael that a lot of people have seen now. And that day, it was funny. We were just wanting to take a picture with Bubbles. So it was Dominic and myself, and they were like, oh yeah, just come over to the hotel. And when we got there, I didn't know Michael was going to be like, hanging out with us while we took the picture, and he's like, hey, come on up, and we were like, okay. And and then we just, Bubbles it was funny. The trainer left and then Bubbles acted up a little bit. He got really, really like crazy for a second. Like he started running around, smacked me in the leg. I was like, ah! He's like, because acting like a little kid. And then Michael scolded him, and the trainer came in and looked at Bubbles, and then Bubbles went into the corner and sat in the corner and was like doing this because he was upset. So if you see the picture, Bubbles isn't very happy in the picture. That's why, because he got in trouble.
Wow. So the trainer was always there? No.
Yeah, there was always someone to because Bubbles was allowed to go to Japan. So like, there's a video, I think, where you'll see it's a Christmas show and you'll see Bubbles come out, or there's pictures at least in a Santa Claus outfit. It's because we were in Japan.
Y cuando está tomando el té, ¿no? Esas son también de Japón, ¿no, Sandra? Esas cuando está con Michael en una mesa y están como tomando té. Ajá.
Yeah.
Eso es en Japón, sí.
Yeah,
sí.
And he had to be in quarantine, I think, for 2 weeks.
Oh, claro.
Because so they put him in quarantine for 2 weeks. So once he got like, it was fun. Once we knew he was at the hotel, we would go visit.
Okay.
And he was little then. He was little.
Pequeño, sí.
Yeah.
Sí. Ale, estábamos preguntándole a Eddie sobre Janet, cómo fue que llegó a trabajar con Janet.
Con ella, sí. Y estaba súper joven. Nos contabas que tenías menos de 16 años, ¿no?
Yeah, 16
años, sí. Pero quisiera que nos contaras un poquito acerca de lo que pasó antes, porque obviamente si a los 16 años llegaste a bailar para Janet Jackson y Paula Abdul te vio y llamó su atención, entonces, ¿desde qué edad empezaste en todo esto del baile?
I started when I was 7.5, tap dancing.
Oh.
But then my studio that I went to when I was little closed. And then when I was 10 years old, I was older than that. I was close to being 12. I did a musical called Superman, which is like from the 30s. And while I was doing the musical, one of the lead actresses saw me, tap dancing on the side and had recommended that I go to the studio called Dupre's to take from the tap teacher there. So then when I went in, I was like 12 years old. They recommended that, they were like, oh, you want to take ballet and jazz? And I was like, no, I don't, no, just tap.
No, thank you.
No. And, but they got me to go watch a class, and I was 12, and there was a really pretty blonde girl teaching the class, and I was like, okay, I'll take the ballet class.
Como Bart en Los Simpsons, ¿no?
Es de los míos, él es de los míos.
So, but then I got on scholarship and spent 2.5 years doing scholarship, and had the greatest teachers in Los Angeles who all were amazing, and they were all very unique and different, and I'm still friends with some of them. Some of them teach at my camp, when they can. The knowledge of what they gave me, it helped me so much with my career and the things I was doing, especially being at a young age. They taught me discipline. They taught me how to act when I was in class. So when I was on a set, I didn't act like a 16-year-old kid going crazy. I acted like an adult.
Sí, muy maduro, porque tenías ya mucho entrenamiento profesional previo. ¿Y cómo fue toda esta historia? Que creo que no hemos llegado a ese punto. Vamos un poquito como para atrás, pero ¿cómo fue toda esta historia de que a tus 14 años estuviste por entrar a Captain EO y justo por la edad, no te pudiste quedar? ¿Cómo estuvo eso?
So, I found out that they had we were called in for the audition for Captain EO. They didn't tell us what it was for. Rumors were like, oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola. And I was like, what? And then we heard Michael Jackson, but again, they kept it really, really secretive. And Jeffrey Hornaday was the choreographer. He had done Flashdance. And went to the audition. I felt like a really strong audition, and there was another young lady my age. Her name was Tina. She was like amazing too. they kept us all the way through, you know. And then I went home and I got a phone call and they're like, "Hey, congratulations, you got the job." And I was like, "Yeah," you know. I was like, I get to dance in a Michael Jackson video, yeah, you know. And so then I got, within 20 minutes, I got another phone call. "Hey, we're really sorry, but it looks like we're not going to be able to use you. We apologize for the mix-up." And I was like, ugh. And then I got another phone call from Wardrobe, and they're like, "No, I think you're doing it because we have your stuff here." And then I got another phone call. So I got hired, fired 3 times.
Qué confusión.
And I found out because the choreographer kept putting our pictures back into the pile because he wanted to use us really bad. Francis Ford Coppola and the producers didn't want to have to deal with child labor laws and having children on set. They thought it was too risky. They thought that the shoot was going to be too hectic and complicated, and they didn't want to be. I can't remember if that was right when the Twilight Zone accident happened, but it might have been in that era. So they were just really, really careful. So it made sense. You know, I was really disappointed, but I told myself that day, the next time I auditioned for him, I would get the job and I wouldn't lose it. And then that's where Smooth Criminal came in, you know. But I almost thought I lost that job too. So
Smooth Criminal?
Yeah. So I went to
Mucho drama.
went to the audition, and when I got called in for the audition, I was doing a commercial. And so I had to leave early, and I was like, "Oh no, you know, I don't know if they're going to let me leave early." So I went to the assistant choreographer and I asked him if it would be okay if I could go in one of the first few groups, because, and if not, I totally get it. I just, you know, I really wanted to audition. And so he and Vincent talked about it. I went in. I don't think I was in the first group, but I was in one of the first few groups. After, you know, they would line you up and they walk up and say, you know, "Thank you," or "Please stay." And for me, they came up and they said, "Hey, just come back tomorrow to the callback." And I was like, "Yo, cool." So I was really excited. I went to my commercial, you know, I was like, had a great day at the commercial. I came back to the callback and I ran into Vincent in the hall, and he was like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey." He goes, "What are you doing here?" And I was like this. I thought, "Oh no. ¿Qué pasa? Yo no entiendo." And then he said, he goes, "Oh, you don't have to." He goes, "You don't have to go to the callback. You know, you already got the job." And I was like this, "Okay." And then went home. And that was it. Yeah. But yeah, you know, again, so grateful. And I really do. I have to credit Paula and Janet, because I was around Janet for a year, you know, on and off during the Control album. And I really do believe it was because of her and through her that Michael knew what I had done. So I think that had a lot to do with it, because I heard he was there watching the auditions, because he was there a lot, always, before you even knew it. You know,
behind the curtain.
Yeah. And he would, there was a room at Debbie Reynolds that you could watch if you wanted, you know. So I think between him and Vincent, they had talked about it. He knew who I was. So I again, just so grateful. And it's because of all that, you know, I got to go on to do the tours and stuff.
Sí. Y ahorita que mencionas esta enseñanza y escuela que tuviste con Janet Jackson, ¿no? Y Paula Abdul, ¿qué cosas tienes como paralelismos entre ellos? O sea, si comparamos a Michael Jackson y Janet Jackson como bailarines, ¿qué cosas podrías como contrastar o decir sobre ellos?
Well, when I look at them, I see how you can tell they're brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they grew up dancing together. Of all of them, I think those two especially.
You know,
there's,
¿no? Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, just dancing for fun, you know. I think what she started to find her own style. I think especially you start to see it forming during Rhythm Nation.
Rhythm Nation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then how that, when she started following up with her, when she started really being established as her own person, like there are still things where I watch her and I go, whoa, that's just like what Michael would do, you know, but not like she's not copying him. It's just them as a family. You know, there's like things when my wife sees me, she goes, wow, you're just like your mom. And I was like, I know. And it's just because that's how you grow up, you know? So, and it's the same with like my sister and my father. It's the same, you know, she's more like my dad, and you can see those things in us. And I think that's the same with Michael and Janet. Were so close, especially because I think they did have a lot of fun with the dancing and playing with that.
De hecho, hay muchas cuestiones que en la comunidad fan se dice que mucho de lo que Janet hizo en Rhythm Nation, más bien Michael tomó esas cosas, ¿no? Para Dangerous. Incluso los outfits, el estilo más militarizado, mucho más como duro, eso lo retomó Michael para Dangerous. Y mucho se dice que la influencia que Rhythm Nation como álbum y como concepto tuvo en Michael para los 90 es como muy grande, ¿no?
Yeah, I don't know. I know he loved Rhythm Nation, but a lot of times, you know, Michael, his inspirations they came from interesting places, not always the place that you thought. You know, I think, you know, when they were conceptualizing the soldier aspect of it, you know, I think he was also changing his style of music, and the beats were more driven. Mm-hmm. So I think it spoke to him more military. And he wanted us to, I mean, and if you watch as the show progresses, we change a lot, you know? So like a lot of like how we start Jam, he just felt like it was like, you know, it was driving. So it felt like a military kind of a thing. And then, you know, as the show evolves though, I mean, like coats come off and, you know, and then that's where our uniqueness came into play. You know, I got to, like, I was allowed, I like to wear, he wore one glove, I like to wear two gloves. You know, I had like, you know, they were for laser tag. They're these black gloves, and they had like, and I thought they looked cool on stage. So they thought they looked cool on stage. So
fingerless.
Yeah, it was just my this finger and this finger were in the glove, and then these were out. So when I would point, you would see it more. So he loved that stuff, you know, and the fact that I think we were always finding influences. The wardrobe people were always having fun, and it was a lot more unique, you know, because they like on Bad, our outfits evolved as we went along, and then you can't always dance in the same clothes. You always have to have other versions of it. Mm-hmm. So we had versions of each outfit. Even on the Dangerous tour, I had different kinds of shirts, and one of my shirts got stolen, so that was a whole nother thing. I know, isn't that crazy? And it was funny because it was probably one of the least expensive shirts. I think it was like a mock turtleneck that we just cut the sleeve off, you know, and it literally probably, you know, you can go to Target and get it for $10. You know, it was like, wasn't expensive, but was gone, like disappeared.
During the tour?
During the tour. And we were like, I wanted to wear it. I think I wanted to wear it during the Bucharest show, and they couldn't find it. It got taken. So they had to make something for me really quick. So yeah, I couldn't believe, and it was my favorite shirt too, because I like the lines, like the one arm out, one arm, you know, all the way through. So for me, it was like, but it was fine. You know, it's like, again, the show, it was, as much as we were part of it, it was his show, you know, and we were there to highlight what he was doing and be part of that, to make it a spectacle for the people that watched.
Cuando estabas trabajando con Janet, entonces vino esta oportunidad para Smooth Criminal, ¿no? Y recuperar como tu lugar que no te pudieron dar en Captain Neo fue como un poco justicia, ¿no? El karma, las cosas.
Creo que era destino que trabajaran juntos.
Ajá, te pasó como a Michael con los Grammys y los American Music Awards con Off the Wall, ¿no? Que dijo, malditos, no me la van a volver a hacer, ahí les va Thriller, para que no me...
Yeah, you know, I think, because I think like I always count my blessings. Like you don't know why things happen sometimes, and like even what we're going through now, you know, I feel like our Earth we're seeing the best and the worst of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think by seeing the worst of people, it brings out the best in people also, because it makes people more aware. Sometimes I think for a long time we go through and we're kind of numb to it, you know, because it's just kind of middle. Whereas when things happen and it gets people to think differently, I think because of everything that's happened, once we get through this, we're going to see a lot of beautiful things come from it.
Es una buena filosofía para no sentirse frustrado, ¿no?
Yeah, I try. I don't always succeed, but I have a great wife. She's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, she's like my she's always encouraging me and always, you know, building me up. And
Oye, Eddie, y ahorita que mencionas a tu esposa, estaba viendo tus redes sociales, tienes poquito de casado, ¿no? Tienes
un año, pero we've been together 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we got married last year, it was good. You know, my mom passed away at the end of the year, but she got to we did a small ceremony for her, so she was really, really happy. It was like it was great, like, you know, so it was the right time. Like we just felt, we knew like we needed to do it soon, because, you know, my mom, you know, when you're 97, 98 years old, you know, every day is like a big deal. So and it was great too, because she was just in a great mood that day. She was so happy, you know. We did it close to her house, so it wasn't far for her to have to go. Yeah.
Oh, pues muchas felicidades y que sean muchos años más.
Hola. ¿A dónde está la comida mía?
Me trajeron de comer, oye.
Yeah.
Oye, Eddie, Jason tiene ahí también mucha multiculturalidad, porque Jason, que es mexicano y que vive en Estados Unidos, está casado con una esposa, su esposa es de Vietnam.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Imagínate esa niña, todo lo que va creciendo en la casa, escuchando, como lo que tú decías, ¿no? De que hablabas.
Yeah. Tofu. Comida asiática.
Yeah. I know. I love it. You know, that's what I also believe. You know, it's part of the healing of our planet is embracing every culture and being. It's not about keeping people out. It's about letting people in. You know, and it's like when you let people in, you gain so much more, because you know, if you're not willing to do that, then you hit a lot of obstacles. You know, we see it in our country all the time right now. So, you know, but we'll get through it.
We have to.
Yeah.
Y afecta a todo el mundo, porque pues sí. lo que pasa en Estados Unidos es un escenario que a todo el mundo afecta, ¿no? Y que, por ejemplo, México, que somos ahí, tenemos una relación tan cercana para bien y para mal, ¿no? O sea, sí. Muchas de las decisiones terminan afectando a los países de Latinoamérica y también la cuestión de cómo nos perciben, ¿no? O sea, como latinos, tú sabrás, ¿no? Cuando llegó Donald Trump, todas estas controversias que había, que si los mexicanos, todo sí. Malo se iba para allá y todas esas cuestiones que decías, híjole, qué horror, porque pues sí, tenemos nuestras cositas aquí en México, pero no está a ese nivel y no está correcto, ¿no?
Yeah, well, like, I believe that it's important to people have dialogue with people, to not just like get angry and just shut people out. So I'll have dialogue with people that I don't agree with, but I don't scream at them. I want to hear what they have to say, and then I want to offer them my opinion and maybe a different outlook, so that maybe they'll hear something different and maybe that'll change their mind. It's like a kid. If you tell a kid not to do something, they're going to go do it. And it's the same, you know, I think adults are the same. We're exactly, oh, you say I can't do that? Okay, fine. I'm going to show you I can do it.
Como Jason haciendo la
Tenía que hacerlo.
Se terminó fracturando, pero él iba a quedar.
Un día voy a subir el video para que lo vean.
Por favor.
Hay video.
Sí, y en esta, como dices, en esta multiculturalidad todos ganamos, o sea, todos.
Yeah, I tell my friend, so like I have a friend who I adore. He's a really great guy, and I'm like, what will change your world and change your outlook is to visit when you can. Once we're past this, visit countries, see other people, see how they live. You know, you're going to see the good and the bad. You'll see both. But when you see the good, and you're going to be like, whoa, like for me, I was so grateful on tour because we got to see so much.
The world.
The world. And I got to experience food. I got to experience people, art. Like I go to the museums, you know, I went to the amusement parks, like everything about cultures outside of where I grew up, which I think, again, informs you and then allows you to, like, as a teacher, that's what I try to do, is inform kids to like listen to all kinds of music, because all of our music's influenced by all kinds of cultures. Even the popular music, you just don't know it because those producers are looking for sounds, and those sounds exist everywhere. They're not just here.
Sí. Y hablando justo de tours, tú te fuiste al Bad Tour cumpliendo recién 18 años, ¿no? O sea, escuché que contabas que así, recién cumplidos tus 18 años, te fuiste a Japón, ¿no? A empezar la parte del Bad Tour. ¿Cómo fue? ¿Esa fue para ti la primer salida así a un viaje tan lejos? Pues como dices, se te abrió el mundo y pudiste conocer el mundo de una forma muy diferente, tan joven.
Yeah, it was scary. The first month was really scary. I had done, with Janet, I had done short trips where, you know, we went to New York, but we were there for like a weekend, you know, so it was like we were there, we rehearsed, we went to Studio 54, and then we came home, you know, and it was like, ooh, that was cool. You know, so I was used to being on sets, like movie sets, TV shows, and things like that. So when we first went to Japan, it was such a culture shock. Like I was 18. I was scared. I didn't know, like, what do you do, you know? But the band and the other dancers and the singers were so amazing and sweet and helped basically raise me and in a great way. Like, these are the things you do. These are the things you don't do. So I just never did the things that you don't do because I didn't want to be that person. And sometimes I think young dancers, you know, young people in general can get in a lot of trouble because they want to experience everything. It's like, no, you know, when you're on a job, it's still a job, you know, and you want to, like, I always knew we were representing Michael. So anything we did, he would get in trouble for. So don't get in trouble. That was the key, you know? So he explained to us about how to be with the fans. You know, he goes, they're important. Without them, there is no us. So if someone asks you for an autograph, you sign it. And you keep signing until someone pulls you away. And I was like, okay. So that's what we would do, you know? And we tried to be as normal as we could. You know, we tried to have interactions with the people. We would see fans, you know, in every show, and we'd see the same ones. We tried to say hi. We try to, you know, or do something. I think Jennifer Batten did something. She, there was a girl who had made a jacket in Japan, and on the back of the jacket, she had created little versions of all of us. Like out of like cloth. Like, it was really cool because you could tell who everybody was. You're like, oh. So Jennifer brought it onto the bus, and we all signed it by our little guy. And then when the girl got it, she started crying, and she was just like, it changed her world. And just little things like that, I thought were really amazing things, you know, like seeing people within our group doing things like that for people.
Tú eras el más joven en el grupo. Tú eras el pequeñito.
Yeah, I think Dominic was 2 years older than me. I think. Yeah, I think we were the closest.
Okay. Oye, Dominic, ¿qué es de él actualmente? No, yo no tengo como ubicación.
So, Dominic passed away. Okay. Actually, very, very young age. He was. If you look, there's during the Dangerous tour, there are there's a rehearsal where you see us and you'll see Jamie, you'll see myself, and then you'll see Dominic teaching Jamie the show, like, and standing in and coming in, because Dominic had gotten a TV show, so it was a chance for Dominic to shine on his own, and not be behind somebody. So we all wished him well. We thought it was amazing that he was going to have that opportunity. And so, yeah, but unfortunately, Dominic passed away at a very young age, which, anytime that happens it's family. So like, it's really, really, it was that was one of my first real, like, especially someone my age, I was like, oh, this one's a little rough. This one's tough. But, again, I felt we had a very special group in the Bad Tour. Like, it was and they carried over because that was pretty much the group for the Dangerous Tour.
Yeah.
And the only reason some of us started leaving during the Dangerous Tour was opportunities became available to us. And because we never knew, they did that tour differently than they did the Bad Tour. On the Bad Tour, they told us, we're going to be doing this for 2 years. So we're going to hold on to you for 2 years. Mm-hmm. On the Dangerous Tour, they go, we're going to do this one leg at a time.
One day at a time.
Yeah. So it was like, we would go to Europe, and then we would come back, and then we'll let you know what's next. Mm-hmm. But you didn't know when that would be.
Más incierto.
See, so if a job came up, you took the job because you needed to, work, because you didn't know if you were going to go back out again. So that's kind of what started happening to people.
Sí. Y hablando de esa presentación en Japón, de tu debut así a gran escala, cuando hacen la parte de Shake Your Body, ¿no? Y que tú tienes esta interacción con la audiencia que es loquísimo, y luego tienes mano a mano con Michael, ¿no? Y se ponen a bailar. O sea, de verdad, qué increíble oportunidad para vivir de esa manera, estar en el escenario, ¿no? ¿Qué pasaba por tu mente ahí cuando le estabas hablando en japonés? Porque les
un poquito. They would teach me just before I would do a show. I was like, how do you say, everybody clap your hands? And they would go, and then I would go, oh, okay. I think it was Deo Tataite. I think that's what it was. I'm trying to remember. But it was like, so it gave me an opportunity, and it was a break for Michael. He needed to have a water break. It was also a throwback to the Victory Tour.
Yeah, Randy.
So we were recreating a moment, and because it was the first leg, that was just let's get used to each other. The band was playing with each other, like trying to learn how the things they could bring to the music to make it better. So once we got into what would become the Wembley show, the band and the dancers were so like in tune that it made it a much different show than the one that you saw at the beginning. And I think Vincent also came in and was like, it's amazing that you're doing these little throwbacks to your brothers and stuff like this, but now let's focus it a little more towards you, because now we can do that, because now it's like people are coming to see you right now, mm-hmm. But he didn't want to ever lose. Like, that's why we always did the medley.
Sí.
It always had to be there, because he always knew where he came from.
Y era el momento especial de recordar los orígenes.
Yeah.
Oye, ¿cómo se sentía el nervio? O sea, cuando iba a empezar el show, específicamente hablando de esos primeros shows del Bad Tour, tú siendo tan joven, tu primera salida así a un lugar tan diferente, y la cultura y todo, ¿qué sentías? O sea, si tú te acuerdas como ese primer show que tuviste, ¿te estabas muriendo de nervios? ¿O los nervios fueron ya después? ¿O en qué momento te pasó por la cabeza eso?
I was underneath the stage, and he was next to me, because we would walk out, like, he was always like,
ya
right,
con eso, ya.
Yeah. And it was before, like, they're starting the rumble, and I was shaking, like my hands were shaking. I was trying not to. I was like, and he was like, "Are you nervous?" And I was like, "Yes." And he goes, "No, that's good." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "No, it means that you care." And he goes, and then he's like, take this moment in because you're only going to feel this once, this moment. Like right now, this excitement of what's new, and he goes, and then go out there and hurt them, and I was like, and he hurt them, like give them so much that they're like, oh, that was unreal. And Japan was such a beautiful place to start because they were so, hey, yeah, I have that in the closet. 2 of them. I have one I opened and one I didn't open. Yeah. They were so loving and giving as an audience, polite. So it really allowed us to settle. So once we got to Europe, like not that it was nothing was ever easy, but it was easier. Like as far as you could let go more, you could play more, you could have interactions with the band. You knew where those things could happen, where it wouldn't be distracting. So yeah, I'll never forget. I mean, I was really shaking. It was like it wasn't even a little bit. It was like, yee. And the whole show, I felt like I wasn't comfortable. Like I was like, okay, this is next, you know. And I was like, just make sure you get to this spot. Do this. And then once you start doing it, you don't have to think anymore. Then it's reactions. Oh, okay, cool. Because you already know that you're going the other direction, but it's by instinct.
Fue ahí en Japón, ¿no? Donde Michael creo que se bajó a la audiencia. No lo volvió a hacer.
And he ripped his shirt open?
Sí, creo.
Yeah.
Se subió a
He felt safe there.
¿no? Una cerca.
Yes. He felt safe because he knew they wouldn't hurt him. So he could jump in his bodyguards were like, you know, but they also knew like they weren't going to hurt him. They'd go crazy, you know, for him, but they wouldn't physically hurt him.
Sí, porque no lo volvió a hacer.
That's why I think he really, really loved Japan, because he really felt like it was safe for him to do things like that. You know, he was a lot more cautious, especially the older he got. You know, he got a lot more cautious with that. But yeah, I remember when he did that, we were like, where's he going? What is he doing?
Esto no está en el script.
Yeah. And he knew it was being shown, like going to be shown on TV. And then it's funny because if you saw it, there was a point where they had the audience put on 3D glasses so that the concert could be 3D for like a minute or two, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, what is that? Oh, it's the 3D glasses part. And you had your little Pepsi glasses.
Es que son muy respetuosos allá en Asia, por eso creo que se sintió cómodo. Si lo hace acá en Latinoamérica, no lo vuelves a ver. No lo vuelves a ver.
Yeah, he just wouldn't. He would have gone home with people. They would have been like, "Yo te voy a dar comida.
Sí.
Necesita comer más."
Está muy flaco.
My mom would always say, "Necesita comer."
Cierto.
Ay, qué risa.
Sí,
pero...
Y cuando estaban, digamos, no estaban actuando o preparando y tenían un poco de tiempo libre, ¿qué hacían?
I would go to museums. I went to museums. I would go sightseeing because I never knew if I was ever going to be in the same city. If there was amusement parks, a lot of times we would get free passes. So we would go to the amusement parks. They would let us in. They were like, when you get there, just show them your laminate and they'll let you in. And I was like, okay, you know, because I was the young one. So I was like, yeah. And I still do that. Like I went to China, I think it was like 7 years ago to shoot a movie. And, same thing. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to go to China again. So like I went sightseeing. We tried to, you know, it was very different, you know, culturally it was very, very different, but just to have those opportunities to see something that's not America was really beautiful. And I think through art also, you can learn so much about culture. And through music, I know when I was in Spain, we went to the, you know, they have the square, and then every little restaurant had one dish, and you could go and you could have the tapas at this place or over here. So we went, and then when we went in this one, they were like, "Oh, you guys are the dancers," and we're like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Come with us." and they took us down into this really hot room that was underneath where they were doing flamenco. And I was like, oh no. And it was steamy and it was amazing. And the music, and I was sweating, and I was like, yeah. But that, like, those opportunities, because they were available to us, especially on the bad tour, we had a lot of time, was really, really amazing. I think that's why it's like, if you hear a lot of us that did both tours, we have something about the bad tour was just because it was new and it was that first time, it was really special. Like, the Dangerous tour was fun too, but the bad tour, we just had that 4 days off to go really look at a city, to really experience a culture, and they'd be like, no, just be ready, and if we'd have a rehearsal, they'd be like, check in at a certain time and we'll tell you if we're going to have a rehearsal. All right, cool. And that's what you did. Yeah.
Oye, Eddie, ¿y qué tanto convivía Michael, ya sea antes del show o en estos tiempos libres? ¿Qué tanto convivía Michael con todo el equipo, ya sea músicos, los coristas, con ustedes, los bailarines? ¿Qué tanto era eso?
Here and there, like occasionally we would get a note underneath that would say, hey, we're all going to go to this amusement park if you'd like to join Michael on this day. And then we would go to an amusement park, so like when we would go to the amusement park, we would get a chance to hang out with him more. He kept being a celebrity is very difficult, and being Michael Jackson must have been extremely difficult, on so many levels. So that chance to see him just be like guard down and just open, especially on the bad tour, we would ride rides and he would just have fun with us, occasionally they would do special dinners for us in certain cities that we would be invited to, because he would want us there, because again, when he could have us there, he would want us there. So we had amazing, like I remember, I've talked about it before. We were in England and there was this beautiful dinner that they had set up in this beautiful, I want to say it was like a museum setting, but we were outdoors and they had a guy ride in on a horse in a knight's outfit. Like he had all the armor, and they did the spectacle, and they had the horns, and then there was so much silverware on the, I had no idea what every spoon and what's that for? I don't even know. I've never seen that spoon.
I just want to eat.
Yes. Can I just use this fork for everything? Because they would take it. You're like, why'd you just take it? We were sitting there and I was like, and then like, cause Dominic and I, could be usually, cause we were the, closest in age. I was like, are we supposed to touch anything right now? Like, no. Okay. And then we would sit there and we're like, everybody's like looking around, and then the person would say da 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 da, and you see one person, okay, we can go. Let's have some salad. And and then you'd have somebody standing right here, and you'd finish your salad and literally just put your fork down, and they would take your salad. Like, I was like, what? Whoa. Okay. Yes. But it was amazing. Like, it was a really cool, like, it was neat, and dance has given me those opportunities, to see things and go to countries I've never been, like I want to go to Peru. I've never been there. I've never been to South America. I've never been. I was just watching something on Netflix about Latin street foods, and they talk about street foods, and I'm like, yes, and I love it because they don't just talk about the food, but they talk about why the food is special. And I was like, that's exactly right. It's because of that.
That's a goal for you.
Yes, because those are the places I would try to find when I was on tour. We would go, we would do a show, and then it'd be really late, and we would go because, you'd finish. It's usually on the third night. You'd finish, but you have all this energy from doing the show. So you would try to go find somewhere to eat and kind of wind down. And so we would like find these little spots, these little places. Like when we were in Japan, they took us to this park, and they're like, they're the best noodle in Japan. And I was like, okay. And I was eating it, and the guy goes, "Oh, you don't like it?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's really good." He goes, "Well, you're not slurping." And I went, "Oh." And so, and then the guy, the little man behind me, he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah." Oh my God. Yes. I was like, I was taught not to do that. Sorry.
Es lo mismo aquí. No, es lo mismo acá. Si tú no dices que te gusta y hablas sobre la comida, te preguntan, ¿qué pasó? ¿No te gustó?
Yeah.
No pedir más es casi
no
mala educación, no te gustó.
And I think that's one of my favorite things is to have food in new places. And people would take us places. They were like, "Oh, we're going to go to my cousin's sandwich shop." Okay. And it'd be like the most amazing sandwich shop ever, and people were just so sweet. I know, like, when we were on tour, again, we were allowed to have 2 tickets to every show if we wanted them. So if people were nice to me, I would give them 2 tickets to the show. I'd be like, "Here you go." Like, they didn't know that. They were just, "Hey, what are you doing? Here. I don't know what you're doing, but these are 2, and here's 2 backstage passes. It'll get you to this area and have fun." And then, and it's like, and then they would take you out, like they would take you places. And so it was a way to give back,
Súper. Ajá, qué afortunados, ¿no? Imagínate ahí así como
yeah, it was, I think too, they thought they were going to, "Oh, well, I'll get to see Michael backstage." They're like, "No, it's not that backstage. It's our backstage. There's backstage and then there's backstage." I'm like, "You're getting backstage." But, yeah, I mean, it was fun. Like, I got to see so many concerts for the same reason. We were given opportunities to go to concerts. I saw Pink Floyd in France, and I got to hang out with them after the concert, which was the craziest thing ever. Not because it was crazy, like they were crazy. They were very nice, very like sat there, and everybody was like super nice and just talking about music. And I'm just going, okay. I'm going to call my sister after I'm done here. Yeah.
Oye, y con tanta comida y todo, ¿cómo se mantenían en forma?
Oh, if I ate so much, you sweat a lot doing a show.
Se llama juventud, Jason. Tenía 18 años.
Yeah.
Bueno,
like,
claro.
Sweat so much. Well, and I was also 18, and when you're 18, you can eat everything and everything. And it was funny because on the second tour, it wasn't as easy, and people were like, "Wow, you're a little heavier than." I was like, I know. I'm sorry, I'm 22 now.
El metabolismo no es el mismo.
Yeah, but everything just changes, but it still should never stop people. Like, I mean, just trying culture, just trying the food. I always tell my friends that have never visited places, I'm like, you got to find a place where you have really good food and really good music, and you're going to learn a lot about the culture. I'm like, dance exists in Latin communities, and because the music and the food and the dancing is all part of this, it's all the same. It's all together. People will eat and they get up and they'll dance and then they eat some more and they, have their like sangria and everybody's like, but it's all connected. It's not like separated. And we do that a little bit here, but it's a little different. Like when I go to like, New Orleans, I find jazz places and you can have the food and having the food with the jazz music it's just different. It tastes better. It's everything about it's different. And I'm the same way when I travel everywhere. It's not just about going to a fancy restaurant. It's about going to a place that you're going to really have the good food.
¿Tú viajas a Cuba? ¿Vas a Cuba a visitar?
I haven't. No, my sister went once.
Oh,
right now it's a little tough for us to go. I'm hoping that changes in 2 months.
Let's go.
Just saying,
Te pregunto porque en Perú la gente es muy cariñosa y también por todas partes siempre hay fiesta y comida y es lo que tú dices, pero en Cuba es incluso más, la gente es más intensa, más cariñosa y todo el tiempo hay música. Entonces por eso te preguntaba.
My sister, when she visited my family doesn't have a lot there, but what they do have is they have each other. So when she went to visit, she said it was really beautiful because everybody in the small area that my family lived would chip in to make sure she was having the best experience. And I have friends that have gone, and they've enjoyed it. I want to go, I want to go when it's not so crazy, so that it can be, so it's not, hey, where'd you go? Oh, I was in Mexico, because a lot of people go through Mexico, to go. We were able to go for a little bit, but I heard that just changed, like recently. They changed that again.
Algo así.
So,
¿Sí? ¿Ha cambiado otra vez?
Pues,
yeah.
o con Obama quería abrir las puertas y creo que ya ahorita otra vez no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think it recently something happened and they were like, you can go once. It's back to that, all right, But again, people had told me, they're like, well, what's China like? And I was like, I was there for 2.5 months and I had an amazing experience. I don't agree with the politics, but meeting the people, meeting other dancers, we went to a karaoke club once. We didn't even know it was real because we never saw anybody there. We walked by this place all the time and there was no one. The street was empty. It was really strange. And the street was empty. And then one day I heard music and I was like, there's music coming out of that door. And so we were like, we opened it up and it was a bar, like karaoke club. And I was like, whoa. And we went in there and they were like, they'd never seen Americans. And they're like, hi, we're like, hey. And then we sat down and then we went back. There were 2 of us because I never go by myself. I always have like somebody with me. So we went back and we were like, yo, you guys need to go to this karaoke club with us tonight. And so we went to the karaoke, all of us, all the dancers on this movie. And we went in and we had the best time hanging out with a group of Chinese people that we had never met. And we were talking, even though we didn't understand each other, we understood everything and we were laughing and it was great. I loved like that because people are people,
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Cuando fui a Vietnam, la familia de mi esposa no me conocía. Y sí, igual, un día fuimos al karaoke, me llevaron, yo no sabía qué onda tampoco. Y llegamos y aquí no existen los karaokes así. Entonces entramos a ese edificio, fuimos al 4º piso, entramos a un cuarto solos nosotros, no vi nada, de repente prenden las luces, parecía disco, y todos a cantar, cervezas y todo. Y no, al final de la noche éramos mejores amigos. Genial. Una conexión con la música y el canto. Sí.
Con la música.
Mm-hmm. I was singing Guns N' Roses. They were like, what are you singing? I was like, yeah!
Sí, es conexión, lo que sea, pero la música junta a la gente.
Yeah.
Sí, es el idioma universal, ¿no? Y es lo que nos hace hermanarnos. Me acuerdo que tú decías algo sobre esto de sentir la música, ¿no? Que Michael lo decía tan literal como de que el heart me, ¿no? Que sintieras tan fuerte, pero también sentirla en esa idea como más de unión, es lo que tenemos en común, es lo que puede hacer que contactes con una persona que está al otro lado del mundo. Cuando hicimos este podcast, Eddie, tú ya tuviste oportunidad de hablar con MJCast, ¿no? Con los amigos de MJCast. Pues nosotros, Sandra y yo ya nos conocíamos, pero no conocíamos a Jason. Y nosotros escuchábamos el MJCast y ellos un día nos contactaron porque los había contactado alguien, spoiler alert, era Jason, que les quería pedir permiso como para hacer su versión en español. Y ellos tuvieron esta idea de contactarnos a Sandra y a mí como para ponernos juntos a los 3 y que hiciéramos el show para habla hispana. Pero nos contactaron y nosotros conocimos a Jason a través de los australianos y Jason es mexicano, pues, y es así como, qué locura, ¿no? Que al otro lado del mundo, por la conexión de la música, empiezas a tener estas conexiones y hace más de 4 años fue que contactamos y desde el primer episodio que grabamos, como si nos conociéramos de toda la vida, ¿no? La parte de la familiaridad y la cuestión de hermanarte a través de la música y de la cultura, esa cuestión es genial y tuviste una oportunidad increíblemente maravillosa de experimentarlo alrededor del mundo.
Well, I think because also like I can go anywhere in the world and I know somebody now. you know, and that's amazing. So you don't feel as that first time I went to Japan, I said I wasn't sure. It felt, you know, I was a little homesick, and I don't get that feeling. I can reach out to people. Hey, I'm gonna be in Spain, yo. What you doing? Oh, hey, I'm gonna go to the Netherlands. What's up? You know, and I think it's so important, you know, is for us to get through everything that's going on now, is to keep those, because unfortunately borders are shut right now, but they don't have to be shut this way. Like, there's ways to communicate. There's still ways to reach out. There's ways to move on and grow from what's going on. You know, and it always goes back to that. You know, my friends and I have already talked. As soon as everybody, this is done and we all got our shots and everything, that like, we're going to throw the biggest barbecue. I'll be like, everybody bring your best stuff, because I'm going to eat it, all of it.
Yeah.
Oye, Eddie, y regresando un poco a lo que estaba pasando durante el Bad Tour, o sea, en esas fechas, tú estuviste en la presentación de los Grammys, ¿no? Cuando hicieron The Way You Make Me Feel.
Mm-hmm.
Y en esa ocasión que es tan comentada porque pues le hicieron totalmente el feo a Bad, ¿no? O sea, no se llevó nada. Hay imágenes en donde Michael se ve que estaba, pero sí, estaba contento, ¿no? Y luego tuvieron esta actuación. ¿Qué nos puedes contar o qué recuerdas de esa ocasión de los Grammys?
You know, I think the disappointment of when you're an artist and Thriller was so unique and so beyond anything anybody had ever done. It's hard to live up to that. It doesn't matter if you do an album that's just as good. It doesn't matter that, and I don't remember who he was up against that year, you know, but
YouTube, creo que
yeah, I was going to say, because that's what came to mind. But they had their album. That was their Thriller, you know. I think it was Joshua Tree. How can you not, like, you know, for them, that was their moment, that changed for them. His, you know, Off the Wall, everybody loved it. It was a great dance album, but Thriller was the one that changed everything for him, provided that moment. And those opportunities come, you know, he had those opportunities, and they were still there, and they still were there for him later, you know, but everyone, you don't always win the award. It doesn't mean that what you did was any less as good, you know. It doesn't mean music. You don't. It's what I try to teach kids. You don't have to have the trophy to know that you did the best job in the room, because sometimes I created a piece this year, and I was very proud of, with Two Little Sisters, and it was about kids being taken away from their parents at the border. I said, we're going to do this at a competition, and you're probably not going to win because it's a little touchy. They don't know how they feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And their mom was like, oh, no, it's great. I love it. Like, no, I want them to experience what this is about. I wasn't trying to, it wasn't like, it was very low key version. I wasn't like, you know, but they were really proud of it. But I mean, and when I talk little, one was 11 and one was like 9, but they understood it. And that was really important. They wanted to do it because they understood it, and they understood what it was about, you know, and it was a chance for me to do a piece, to say something more than just get a trophy. And then they learned something that their mom was like, no, they've learned more from doing a dance like this than they would from doing a dance where they had the trophy. And I was like, cool. You know, that's my job as a teacher. You know, it doesn't mean I always have to do depressing things, but you know.
Sí. Y cuando hicieron la presentación de The Way You Make Me Feel, yo tengo la duda, ¿tú estuviste también en el video? ¿O también estuviste pero ustedes no se ven tan claros? O sea, es cuando se ven las siluetas, cuando están haciendo el ensamble que bailan, tú estás ahí.
Yo tengo el pelo largo.
Ajá.
That's because I have my tour hair.
Ah, okay.
So I had the mohawk, but they hadn't cut this part yet. So they put me in a bandana. And so the sides were still long. And so like you'll see my hair going in the back.
Eso se nota más en el de los Grammys, pero en el video igual traías ese look.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on. If you're looking at the screen, I'm on the right.
The right side. To the right side.
Yeah. And I was the only Latin in it. I was the only one. Michael's like, because we had the two different gangs, and so he wanted to have a bigger presence from having blacks in the video, but he also he understood that, but right now what we're trying to do is I'm trying to show more of a street vibe. So he knew Lavelle and myself because of Smooth and because we'd worked with him. So he felt comfortable with us. So he wanted us there. And then they just added two other dancers. And Vincent did that again. Vincent, created something that was very iconic. That's one of the things I really admire about Vincent, that every time he takes on a project, it always looks different. And I found that to be really cool. It's like, and to be around that at a young age.
Sí, y había pandillas de verdad, como en Beat It, que también.
Oh, yeah.
Eran
oh, yeah. So the Crips, the real Crips that were in the video would not sit with me because the Chicano gang and the Crip gang didn't get along.
Okay.
So the Chicanos were at one table. They would sit with me. They sat down and they were telling me all kinds of crazy stories that I didn't want to hear. I was like, they were there with their parole officer. And then the Crips were there with their parole officer. So they would talk to Lavelle. They would tell Lavelle stories. And, and then when they were putting their costumes together, they asked if they could iron their pants because they wanted to get the crease. And the wardrobe guy was like, I wasn't going to say no. And I was like, but, I mean, generally just, not that the Crips were rude to me. They just didn't really open up to me. The Mexican kids opened up to me. They were telling me all kinds of stories. Like I said, it was like, telling me about their parole and what they went to prison for and what they were trying to do in life now. And, and I was like, cool. Wow. Okay. Yeah. But that's another thing for them to feel open enough to share, I think was huge. And I felt very like, the gratitude I have for them to feel comfortable enough to speak to me, I am grateful because again, you can learn from success and you can learn from mistakes, and these people made mistakes, and it's for them to have an opportunity to change that and be given an opportunity to do something to build their pride and their confidence was very important.
Sí. ¿Y hubo algún momento tenso por estas dos bandas así contrarias en el set?
No, they were pretty. They didn't really talk to each other very much. We shot it very quickly. The director was real,
Ahí es donde está la historia de alguien que estaba fumando, ¿verdad, Sandra? Que creo que hay una historia y que le pidieron que dejara de fumar, pero creo que fue Joe Pitka, el director,
yeah.
¿no? Que big guy, ¿no? Y que él fue a pedirle que apagara el cigarro.
Y les gritó. Ajá,
y les gritó. Sí. Sí, pero pues qué miedo, ¿no? Porque tienes ahí a gente, como dices, que pues viene de situaciones difíciles y que aparte tiene contrarios.
Yeah, so like Pitka was very matter of fact, and when you talk to a kid that's basically a former gang member, and you start to say something to them, they're not gonna react like I would have reacted. They're gonna, because I sort of remember. I think the kids stared at him. I think they stared at him, and then they put it out, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you don't even know." That was like, he was thinking about how he was going to react to you, but it was also a different time, and the way people spoke to each other was different. I tell, even in dance classes, the way people spoke in dance classes back then was more matter of fact. It's a little, they colorful language. They used a lot of colorful words, a lot of cursing, but nobody was malicious. They just would tell you if you weren't doing something right, they would tell you, but they don't always use the nicest way. So
not hurt your feelings.
they weren't afraid of hurting your feelings. They didn't want to hurt your feelings, but they weren't afraid of hurting your feelings. And they figured that you needed to figure it out, because if you couldn't take it, you wouldn't last on a set. And they were right. Then it's different now. It's much different now, because I think, again, people took advantage of that at points in the industry and stuff.
Nosotros siempre andamos buscando las conexiones de Michael con Latinoamérica lo más que podamos. En este video, es lo que tenemos, lo que yo tengo entendido es que probablemente sea el video musical más latino o mexicano que pueda existir, ¿no? De Michael, lo más cercano que pueda en su música, aparte de la canción de Santana. Creo que esto es lo más cercano a nuestra cultura. Y obviamente el video de Brasil, pero... entonces, las bandas... eran actores, eran mexicanos, pero de los bailarines tú eras el único mexicano, ¿correcto?
And for the way you make me feel?
Sí.
I was the only Latin. There's Lavelle. I'm trying to remember the other two dancers, but it's just Michael was being very careful because he wanted to make sure that, again, sometimes people, especially when you get to him, they were being very, he didn't want to feel like he was selling out, that he still had a connection to his Black roots, so he was very conscientious about that, and you see it later in later videos. He really shows that more. Outside of the real gang members, I was the only Latin person, the other three, Lavelle, Lavelle and I had a great relationship from Smooth. So, we would sit in there and we would talk, and then we would talk about what the tables were talking about too. Cause he would tell me stories about what they were saying at the one table. And I was like, oh yeah, you missed this story.
A ver, ¿quién tiene la historia más choqueante?
I can't even talk about them. They were, I was like, what? Things, yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
Y en ese momento también fue, no me acuerdo la línea de tiempo, pero para Speed Demon, que fue cuando hicieron Moonwalker, ¿no?
Ya.
Yeah. ¿Tú ya estabas en el tour o era porque ya habías hecho Smooth Criminal o cómo llegaste a hacer la figura para Speed Demon?
It was right around the time so The Way You Make Me Feel was the last thing we filmed.
Oh.
Speed Demon came in between Smooth and The Way You Make Me Feel. And Michael was comfortable with me because we'd had conversations, and Vincent just was like, we have this little thing. You have a great energy. He's going to be able to go back and forth with you if you're interested in doing it. And I was like, oh no, that'd be great. It'd be fun. So I was given an opportunity to, just to be on the set, and then they explained it to me, and they showed, Spike to me because he was little. They're like, oh, this is Spike, and and then they showed me one of the real raisins from the California raisin commercials, and they showed me all kinds of stuff, and they explained how the process was and how they were going to do it. When they showed, they're like, we're going to film the two of you dancing so he can react. And then we're going to shoot him dancing by himself. And then we're going to shoot you dancing by yourself. And then we're going to just shoot the background. And then we're going to place in Spike when we need him. And then we're going to combine what Spike is doing will be you and Michael together. So he has a bit of a different personality. So it's not like just Michael dancing with Michael. So it's like Michael dancing with Michael, kind of, but still different. So like the point was me, because that was like my personality. Like the little wave. I do like a little wave and I wave. That was me. The turning was, there's a video of them grabbing me and turning me, and which was hard because I'm used to turning myself. So having them turn me, it was weird, you know. So part of that's me. Some of the freestyles, like when he's walking, that's all Michael. You can tell, like you can see it. It's like, oh, that one's Michael. Like you can see where it changes. At least I can. I go, oh yeah, that one's Michael. Yeah, but it's cool. My goddaughter, my friend BJ is a huge Michael Jackson fan, like huge. Like he has a tattoo, like, and his goddaughter loves watching the video. And when she sees Spike, she always said, "That's Uncle Eddie." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Nos vas a poner a analizar el video ahora, ¿eh? Voy a ir a sacar mi DVD a verlo, para ver si puedo ver las diferencias yo.
Yeah, you'll be able to. Like I said, you can tell in the expressions too. Little things like, you know, you see, I use my hands a lot. Like I said, like the little wave, because I remember doing that because I was like, they were like, do something funny. And I was like, oh, I'll do a wave. And then I'll wave. Get it? You know, and I was like.
Era como improvisación. Era lo que a ti se te ocurría en el momento.
Yeah. You know, and Vincent was coaching both of us. You know, Vincent also would be there and do stuff for Michael to react to. We shot that pretty fast. I think we did it in a day. Like at least that portion, that part. They were shooting Moonwalker consistent. Like they were really going through. We were almost in, what was the one that he did? Come Together. We were this close. And then they decided not to have the dancers. And I was like, oh, I wanted to be in that one really bad. Yeah.
¿Fuiste a la premiere de Moonwalker al cine o no?
No, I think we were on the road. I don't remember. I don't remember. It was so long ago. I know I didn't see it in the movie theater that I remember, you know, but that was so long ago.
Yo tampoco la vi en el cine.
Hey.
No había nacido.
No había nacido casi.
I remember I had the videotape, you know, I had the videotape. I think I saw it on TV once, you know, like there were, I wanted to be in Ghosts really bad, but I wasn't around at that point, you know, so that was one I really regretted because I love like creatures and monsters. And I was like, of course, the one time I can't do it, you know, I can't be a part of something. They do the monster thing. Great. Yeah. But, yeah, I heard that was a hard shoot. You know, it was really difficult. My friends that worked on it had a good time, you know, the makeup, everything, you know, it's a process, you know, you later on when you see it, it's something that you go, ooh, that was cool. But, you know, sometimes the process can be a little hard.
Sí. Oye, y hablando justo de eso de el proceso, obviamente pues fue una pieza clave en tu carrera y en las colaboraciones con él, pero siempre hemos tenido la duda aquí de esta parte que hay cuando empiezan todos que la música baja, las luces bajan y todo el mundo empieza a estirarse y a gemir y a hacer ruidos extraños y todo. ¿Cómo surgió eso?
It's supposed to be a transformation of the souls. So like we're supposed to be bad guys that are in the in the club, and then everything stops, and when you hear the people going, you know, reacting, their souls are transforming and it's making them good people now.
Okay.
But when we did it, I didn't understand it at all. I was like, I don't know why is he making that noise? I had no idea. I was like, why is he going? I was like, what is that? Like, I had no idea. But that was the idea. That's why you see us protect him at the end. We're changing. We went from like bad guys to he changed us. He came in and changed what was happening in the room, and then we became protective over him.
Ok, y tú también decías justo en ese video que cuando Michael entró a la habitación, que esto que ha dicho otras personas, no, la habitación se sentía diferente, ¿no? O sea, su presencia era una presencia que la notabas, ¿no? O sea, que había, Cherry Crow decía, ¿no? Que cambiaban las moléculas en el aire cuando cuando él estaba ahí. ¿Tú tuviste esa sensación también? Por lo menos la primera vez.
See, the first day he came to the set, they told us he was coming, but the second he walked, we were in as a big set. Like we were on a big sound stage. When he was there, I knew he was there. Everything changed. Like I knew he was there. And he was very polite. He was quiet. You know, they introduced him to us. We all said hello. And then we went right back to working. Like no one stayed. It was funny though, because we had a lot of famous people visit. And with some of them, it's the same thing. When Elizabeth Taylor came down, you knew she was there. Gregory Peck came down, you knew he was there. Like you could feel it, like something changed in the room. And I think it's just that I think that exists in anybody that you see become like a big star like that. Like I think they do change a room. They do change like you know they're there, even when you don't have to see them, but you know they're there.
Ah, ok. Pero qué genial explicación esto de la transformación, como si estuvieran, pues sí, mutando, ¿no? Cambiando su alma. Qué interesante eso, porque a mí esa parte no me gusta.
Yeah, no. But
ya lo voy a entender diferente.
Like, you know when the black cat goes across the
piano.
So originally that was me. I was doing a piano thing and I like laid across the piano and then they were like, let's try it with the cat. And I was like,
you feel replaced by the cat.
Pinche gato.
Yeah. It was hilarious. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, you know, I look cooler with the cat.
I look pretty cool.
A lot of people didn't understand. I didn't understand. I was young. So I really didn't understand why everybody, but it's like, you know, when you go to church and you see, and sometimes people get very caught up in church and they're having a transformation and they'll make noises and that's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like church. Like we were changing our souls and becoming better people and then becoming protective instead of being people that were the killers.
Y a ti no te ubiqué bien en el video, pero tú no estás o si eres uno de los que hacen la inclinación, el lean.
Oh no, yeah.
Te vas y ya después regresas. Ajá.
Yeah. I'm on when he does the Annie, are you okay, Annie? And there's the 4. I'm on him on the right.
On the right. Uh-huh.
On the right. But no, I didn't do the lean. Those were the poppers. Like all the poppers did that part. It was like Jeffrey Daniels, Taco.
Jeffrey Dahmer iba yo a decir, pero ese no, es otra cosa.
No, not Jeffrey Dahmer's. No. Totally different. Yeah, but it was so much fun. That's the other thing that I really enjoyed is that Michael was able to bring different styles together. Not just musically, but even like in dance.
Dancing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the style he loved was tap dancing and Fred Astaire. And then the style he picked to do was jazz mostly. Mm-hmm. And then the style that he loved to improv was more the street, like more the popping and the locking, you know. So seeing all of those combinations in one person that changed, I think, how people approach dance too.
Sí. No, pues me explosión de cabeza, como dice Jason, con la explicación que nos diste ahorita de ese segmento para Smooth Criminal. Y pues termina toda la era Bad. ¿Y qué pasa después contigo? En el inter entre que estuviste en Bad y ya después ¿cómo fue que te hablaron para el Dangerous Tour o qué hiciste tú en ese inter? ¿Qué pasó contigo en ese inter?
So I got a phone call from my agency saying that they were having auditions for the Dangerous Tour. And I was like, that's weird. They didn't call us. Okay. So I was like, I'll just go to the audition. It's not like I don't know any of the stuff. You know, I was like, I was like, yo puedo bailar todo porque I did every video. Like I was with him. Like I was like, okay, bring it. So, you know, and like anything else, I don't think you should ever expect a job. I think you have to earn it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I went to the audition. I felt confident because, you know, I knew what he liked. I didn't know Kenny. I knew Kenny a little bit. So I wanted to, you know, again, you want to be respectful. But when I got there, I mean, Kenny knew I danced for him. So he was like, hey, come here, because again, that gives him more insight when Kenny was like trying to find insight as to what Michael might look for. He wanted to feel out like what was going on. I do know during the audition process, I don't remember I think it was at callbacks that they got a phone call from Michael, and Michael had decided to just go with the originals. Mm-hmm. So I had booked the job. So I booked it auditioning, but I booked it without having to audition also. So I was like, I'm double booked. I'm good.
Palomita.
Yeah, but that's how Jamie got the job. Jamie King came in, he auditioned, and Kenny wanted to be respectful of the dancers because they put in so much work. He's like, we got to bring somebody. So they brought in Yuko, they brought in Jamie, they brought in Michelle. Like they brought in other elements to add to the
Saida with the background vocals was
Saida. So Saida they wanted originally, but she couldn't do it originally. So when the second tour, when they talked to her, she was able to do it. So it's her on the album. It's cool to have her.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like the main thing is like he wanted it to be a bigger show because it's like. It's funny when I thought the Bad Show was huge until I see it now. I go, wow, there's not very much like stuff, Dangerous. I mean, the whole thing comes up, like the stage comes apart. There's like, all kinds of magic tricks. There's all lot of stuff. And I think with each tour he tried to evolve that. And it's funny because you still see the influences. Even from the Bad Tour, you see the influences on other artists with the arm going out across the audience. He was the one that did it. It was him that did that. Now a lot of people do it, their version of it, and I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure he was influenced by Kiss and their big shows and put on the show. Don't just do the music, put on a big show, give them something that they can talk about, so on Dangerous when they were putting it together, I knew it was going to be bigger because I'd never seen a stage do what it did. I was like, it comes apart? They're like, yeah, it raises up. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. They're like, you can tilt it. You can do, we won't tilt it though, because you'll fall. I was like, yeah, let's not do that. Let's go straight up and down. But they were trying to think of different ways to do it. Because they had been able to do it. And then they talked about how they were going to have the tombs underneath. So when it raised up, the tombs would come up. How the things, all the magic tricks, working with the magicians was really cool. They were like, you have to do this. You have to do it this way. You have to show the trick this way. And I'm like, okay, because that's, again, you're not just doing dance, but you're also doing, like, when you do a magic trick, you have to sell the magic trick so that the magic trick works, which on the first tour, I was nervous. On the second tour, I'd already done it. So I was like, I get it. I know how it works. You just got to show me. And then I just got to practice it. And then once I have it practiced, I can just do the presentation of it.
¿Y las coreografías consideras que tenían el mismo nivel de dificultad en cuanto al baile como tal? ¿Qué diferencias podrías notar entre Bad y Dangerous?
I want to say we dance more on Dangerous, like on the, but it's not necessarily true because Lavelle and I danced a lot on Bad, especially the first leg, like in Japan, we do a lot of dancing there. We had a lot of breaks during the show too, so I never felt like I wasn't like, oh, it's like 2 songs break, 1 song break, 2 songs break. So we had a lot of. He was always on stage, we weren't. So like, if he could do it, we can do it. The costumes were a little more intense on Dangerous. Yeah, because we wore zombie masks, and they were our face, but like made into a mask that was a zombie. So those were hot. So we had to have like this cut out so we could breathe. I've talked about it. It was funny. So I've been on Twitter and a lot of people have been asking about this, remember the time thing. And I was like, I remember wearing the outfit. I remember doing it. I
remember
outfit.
The time when we do.
Yes, I remember me personally. I remember being in the outfit, sweating in the outfit, doing the whole thing. But I only remember doing it once, and that was it for me. And Kevin had said the same thing, And some people have gone to every show, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, But I'm like, that's another thing. It's like I remember that outfit because I did not like wearing it at all. It was the most claustrophobic. It was my face. But do you know who the Jabberwockies are? Dance group. They wear like white masks.
Yes.
So it was kind of like that, like a mask like that, but it was gold, like real gold, like heavy, like gold. And we had a beard, like an Egyptian face, like what you would see King Tut. And then we had this like headpiece that came down like King Tut. And then we had a black turtleneck. And then we had gold plates that came across. And we had black jeans. And then these two panels, one in front and one in back, kind of like a dress. Mm-hmm. I remember because it was so hot. It was so crazy. And it was like, we did it. And then I remember he just was like, it's too much. It was too much for him. He also sings in his upper register, especially towards the end of the song. He's like, when he's doing his little runs and stuff, it's harder song on him. The beginning's not, but the end towards the end. And the song was really long because they added this whole like African influence at the beginning. They had all these drums, and there's videos of us rehearsing it. There's no videos that I know of, which I've always asked people, if you were the one group that saw this and because there's videos that pop up and I'm like, how did this person get this video? Because I've never seen that video and I was there and I don't have that video, but like the gold masks were hard because where with Thriller, they could cut our mask so that our chin showed and we could do that. With this, because it was metal, basically, we just had this little hole right here, and you would take it off, and you would be red, and and the choreography was very intense. There was a lot of we had to turn our heads sideways to do the roll because they do the roll this way, and we had to go this way because our beards were hitting the thing, and I was like, kink. I was like, okay, can't go that way. Turn your head, Yeah, and I think, I know we rehearsed it to try to do it for Bucharest, and he was like, nah, I want to keep it the way we've been doing it because it's easier, to get through. People don't realize the amount of energy that, he would put out. It's like you see him when I see artists now, I see it, there's points where they talk to the audience, and part of that's because they need to rest, get the audience singing, get the audience doing stuff. Because if you don't, it affects you, and especially on the Dangerous tour, we didn't have a lot of breaks. We would do a city, and then you'd be on a bus and you go and you do another city, and then you'd be on the bus, you'd have a day off, and then you do 2 shows, and then you would be so on the Bad tour, you get there, you have 4 days off. Let's go. Like energy wise, it was much easier, and the costumes weren't as dynamic. It was our faces, the costumes were what we wore, but they weren't like covering our faces as much.
Entonces no recuerdo la ciudad que pasó este performance.
No, what comes to mind for me was Germany. That's what I remember, but I don't remember
the exact.
I don't remember the exact city. I don't remember because I know when we got to Germany, I know we did a whole full run through. So I don't remember, me personally, if it was just, we did the whole show in costume all the way through for practice, or I never remember doing that, because why would you do that? You just start it, make sure everything works, and then move on to the next. So remember the time when you get to the dance break, that's at the end. So we had to be in the outfit. It's like you're out there doing stuff, but you don't do the dance until the end. And I don't remember practicing and I just, cause I do the mask, the mask, it was the hardest. They had to figure out ways to keep the flaps on the side from flapping in your face, and the wardrobe people were really cool too, cause they were trying to work with us. They were trying to figure out ways to make it easier. They were trying to figure out if they could make the mouth bigger, but then he just made a decision. I think the show was too long and he just wanted to cut it down. I almost did the thing with him on Soul Train, but I got hurt the same day he got hurt, which was like.
A ver, Sandra, ahí pregunta lo de. Pregunta lo de la patita.
Sandra tiene una conspiración aquí.
Sí,
if he was hurt? No, he was hurt. He twisted his ankle.
He didn't want to do it.
No. He twisted his ankle.
Really?
At rehearsals, I remember that they were like, Michael twisted his ankle. Like he did it doing something weird and he thought he was okay, but they were like, it was tender. That's why they were making him sit. Like he didn't want to sit. I mean, you see, he gets up in the performance, I hurt my back. I couldn't move. Like I was like, and he twisted his ankle. That was like, I remember him being at rehearsal and we stopped because he had twisted it. But so there's no conspiracy.
Ahí está, Sandra. ¿Cuántos años con esa idea? Oye,
¿cuántos años?
Estabas hablando de que Michael siempre estaba en el escenario y ustedes tomaban un break, esto. Entonces, había ustedes sentían presión porque Michael, de que todas las cosas salieran bien durante el concierto, que no hubiera errores, debido a que Michael siempre estaba haciendo lo suyo.
Well, you never know what's going to happen in a concert. So, like sometimes I remember we were in New York and someone decided they were going to come down, like with their belt, down to the stage, like Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. And they landed on the stage. I didn't see them actually land on the stage. I saw them run across the stage. And I was like, who's that? He was dancing in the middle. He's like, and I was like, and then I see the bodyguards and I was like, oh, he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was like, where did that guy come from? And they were like, and they pointed and it was like the third level. And I was like this, and they're like, yeah, dude, he came down on a rope. And I was like, what?
Bien Tarzan.
Yeah, I know. Like anything, I mean, sometimes things happen. Like I remember I went to stop once and I put my foot down and Michael had sweated in that area. So my foot slipped. So I went down into a James Brown split and then popped up and I was sitting and I'm like standing up and Don Boyette was behind me. He goes, yeah, you didn't mean to do that, did you? And I was like, nope. Because we can hear each other. And he's like, going, don't laugh. And I was like, I know. Shut up. So, things happen. Things, I know Michael did his kick once and kicked his shoe out into the audience, like way out into the audience. Like
chancla voladora.
Gone. And someone's like, I have a shoe. Yay. But if that happened, like, Michael Bush would be out there with a new shoe like that. It was like, and if there were ever any problems with his costume, you would hear him call for Michael to come out and fix it, because he didn't want to stop the show. So, yeah. But like, I always watched Michael to see, we had a pattern of how the show went, but every show was different. So to see him handle audiences or react, like, we would always watch when they brought the girl up, to see if she was going to faint or not, because sometimes they were like, and, like, oh no, and then I remember the one girl, she fainted. I think she's the one in the Bucharest show where you see her kicking when they're taking her off stage. So once they got her off stage, she had fainted. She was like, and the bodyguard that carried her off was really nice. He came back to check on her, and she woke up and she smacked him. She hit him. And I was like,
why?
Because she got mad because he took her away from Michael. And I was like,
¿Cómo le quitas el dulce al niño?
¿Seguros que no fue Ale? ¿Seguros que no fue Ale esa?
Fue en el History Tour cuando la chica se le desmaya, pero a Michael, ¿no? Y que Michael termina como cargándola casi y entregándola en calidad de bulto.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it happened a lot. Like there was always someone there to try to catch. A lot of times, people don't realize, people have been in an audience and they've been smushed. And so the excitement and the heat and and some of the girls nothing ever happened. Some of the girls, like one girl fainted as she was walking up the steps. He was holding her hand and she was going backwards. And the bodyguards like catching her, like they were always safe with them.
Oye, Eddie, ¿y cómo era la dinámica de escoger a la chica? ¿Quién era el que decía la última palabra y quién va?
I don't remember. I think Bill, who was in charge of his security, he was an older gentleman that you always saw in the hat. Mm-hmm. He ultimately had the say. Like it would be him that would say, she's okay. The bodyguards were really careful. They a lot of times there were people that, this girl's been to the concerts 7 times. We should bring her up, she's so-and-so's niece. We should bring her up, so there were different people, different ways. Cause you also have to be very careful, so the bodyguards didn't just choose, it's usually they had an idea. They've been watching the person. They don't think they're going to be harming Michael in any way.
Hacían su profiling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can tell like, you want someone who's excited, but you don't want someone who's going to like get crazy. But it wasn't always, they were aware because too, you need the person to be, you have to bring them out of the audience before they have to be ready to go. So it wasn't just like in every city it was someone different, but it wasn't always like as random. Like they looked, they were careful.
Aquí en México, y a ver, quiero preguntarte de esos shows aquí en México por varias razones, pero aquí en México se supone que uno de los días fue Thalía quien subió, ¿no? Una artista. Hablando de las novelas que decíamos hace rato, y ella fue, y obviamente pues fue por influencias, ¿no? Que la subieron al escenario y ella fue la chica que estuvo en el escenario. Entonces, como dices, había veces en que no era tan random la elección.
Yeah. No. I mean, like I said, if you knew somebody and you thought it would be fun, you could. There were people, like there were sometimes we were in cities and like a band person knew somebody and they wanted to do something fun and nice for the person. So they would say, oh, well, hey, this is so-and-so's niece. Let's bring her up, but more often than not, they were true fans. They were always like somebody who really was into him and everything. So I know I was bummed. I never got to go to Mexico. Jason was on that. Like Jason took my place. So Jason, but he had the goatee. Because they made him cut his hair and do the goatee like me. But yeah.
¿Por qué no viniste a México?
That was, remember I told you we had those breaks?
Uh-huh.
So during the break, I had gotten a different job to do. It was like it was either going to be a movie or a TV show. I was working with some really wonderful people. And so it was a conflict right at that point. So I had to follow what I thought would work for me at that point, which, for me, it was sad because I love being on tour with them, but yeah.
Y entonces tampoco fuiste a Argentina, o sea, no te tocó toda esa parte.
None of it, no.
Oh, mira.
Por eso dijo al principio que nunca vino.
Que nunca,
yeah.
Exacto.
Yeah. That was like Jason. I think Jason did all of that. And then towards the end of the Dangerous tour, there were again more changes because more people started. Like Randy, I think left when I left. I think we left about the same time. You know, but again, it's because they didn't keep us before on the Bad Tour. Hey, for the next 2 years, you're not doing anything except this. On the Dangerous Tour, they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to pay people. So they were like, we'll tell you when we're going to go out, and if you're available, we'll take you, and if you're not, we'll just get somebody else.
Sí,
and that's all that happened.
Nada más estaban por esas temporadas. Y entonces a ti, ¿cómo te tocó vivir? Porque obviamente y tristemente el Dangerous Tour está ligado a lo que pasó en 1993 con las acusaciones y todo eso, ¿no? Y que Michael estaba ya de gira y fue cuando recibió la noticia. ¿Estaba en qué parte estando? ¿En Singapur? O cuando Singapur, ¿no?
Estaba antes de venir a Sudamérica.
¿Tú estuviste en esa parte cuando esto se dio a conocer? ¿Tú viviste eso como estando en el equipo, en la gira?
Well, so like I heard like everybody else, you know, like I always tell people, because I don't talk too much about it, because I always try to be respectful of, and this goes back to what I was saying, you know, people have different stages of their life. The Michael I knew, and the Michael that was the person I worked for, was always kind and sweet and gentle, and that's all I can go by, you know. So I never get into thing, because like it's gonna, I've seen too many people get angry at, and he wouldn't like that. I know he wouldn't like that. He wasn't like that, you know. So I just like, I know my truth, and I know what I feel, and I know the person I know, and that's what I go by, you know. So I wasn't around when all of that. I know it affected him health wise. Like it, I think that changed him forever. Sí. You know, and I really think that affected him all the way through, like, you know, until
the rest of his life.
Yeah. And which is, it's sad. It's just it's a sad thing for me, you know. My experiences and where I was, and I was young and I was around him, and you know, I never experienced anything that felt wrong to me, you know. And again,
pero a partir de ese momento el ambiente como que cambió.
Yeah, he wasn't, I know, like with my group, we would go places together, and you know, he wasn't, after that, he couldn't do that anymore. It changed. It took, I think, some of the fun out of it. Like the experiences that I got to have on the Bad Tour, they didn't always get to have on the other tours. The same experiences of like us all going out together, us all doing stuff together. You know, it was very different, you know, on the other tours. It became more, he was nice. He was always nice to the groups, but he was not as close, I think, as to all the groups, you know. And I'm only speaking from what I've heard. You know, he may have been close to some and not as some others, you know. But we were really we were super close to him. You know, he just, I never saw his guard go up with us.
Entonces, digamos que la última parte que tú estuviste de Dangerous fue cuando te tocó el Super Bowl y que hicieron la actuación del Super Bowl, y ya después de eso ya no estuviste en tour.
Yeah, it's for something in my mind. I may be wrong. The Soul Train happened after Super Bowl, right? I don't know.
Remember the time?
Yeah. I can't remember, but I thought Soul Train, I mean, this is where you guys can help me because I don't remember timelines, but I thought Soul Train happened after Super Bowl. Like we did Super Bowl.
No, porque Remember the Time fue en 92. Fue en 1992. El Super Bowl fue en el 93.
Yeah, the January. Yeah. So then, yeah, that was like probably that was it, the last time for me, and it was my chance to do something cool, and like I said, then I booked. I love. She's going for the book. She's like, yeah, déjame ver.
Mira, a mí también ya la memoria luego me falla.
Yo no sé, déjame ver.
Salió en el 92.
Aquí lo tengo yo en YouTube.
Ahorita nos salimos de la duda.
It's hard because, you know, sometimes things are correct, like in some of the things, and sometimes, like, I know a lot of people thought our rehearsals that they see us and he's in the yellow shirt and they thought those were done at Neverland, and they were not. No. They were done at Universal Studios, you know, because it was the only place big enough to hold the stage, so there was, there are things like we rehearsed the Bad Tour in Pensacola, Florida at an arena because, again, there was an arena there that we could rehearse and they could do everything. So we could actually try everything. So like some dates and things, I don't remember like which happened first. I remember being
muy juntos en el tiempo, ¿no?
Yeah, and I remember being hurt, and I remember that being more of a factor as to why I didn't continue, but again, it's like if Super Bowl, I remember doing the Super Bowl. I remember rehearsing. It's funny. I didn't remember dancing to Billie Jean until I watched it. And I was like, oh yeah, we totally did. Cause I forgot we didn't leave the stage, but like, some of those you don't, cause I don't remember dancing. We never danced to Billie Jean, but we did in the Super Bowl, which I didn't remember. Yeah, other people were like, my friend BJ was like, oh yeah, you totally danced to Billie Jean. I was like, no, we didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did. And he shows me, and I was like, oh, I guess we did.
Sí, lo de cuando se lastimó el pie fue marzo.
Marzo 9 fue
y el Super Bowl fue enero. Y luego los Grammys fueron febrero. Entonces, enero, febrero todavía estaba bien. No tenía la patita.
Oh, Dangerous. We did Dangerous. That, I think... yeah, Dangerous one. I think that might have been the last one for me. When we did, it was American Music Awards, right? That was, I think, the last thing I did. Because then the group, that's when some of the group started changing because Travis came in. So that totally makes sense. Travis came in to help us with Remember the Time because he had done that. I remember we did the Super Bowl. It was the four that had done the tour. And then when we went to do Dangerous, the four did the little breakdown with him, and we were like all over that. And there were some amazing dancers like, that jumped in and were part of it. And the cool part is that I'm still friends with a lot of the dancers that have worked with him. We have a connection and a brotherhood and a sisterhood, where we all have a connection because of him, so I really am grateful for that generationally too. There are people that ended up dancing for him later, and like even in This Is It, that were kids that I taught, at points in their life. And that's weird. It's like, oh, that's crazy, but, yeah, and yeah, dates, some of them, I'm like, I don't know which one came from, but I do now. I remember Dangerous, I think was it.
Yeah, and ya no regresaste al tour, ya no estuviste de viaje con ellos.
Yeah, because then we took a break. They did, and then when they went back out, they added it. They started adding that to the show.
Y ya fue cuando en México pues se canceló el tour por múltiples cuestiones que derivaron de esas acusaciones y que pues ya no siguió. Ya por eso le canceló a Perú, por eso ya no fue a Perú, ¿verdad, Sandra? Tú tenías ahí tu...
Well, I think it weighed on him, it hurt, and it made him like, anytime you go through something, especially something like that, it took a lot. How can you do your best show? How can you do that? Like, there's too many things. Yeah. Happening. It's his family, Taj reached out to me on my birthday and was very sweet. Sent me a really sweet message to say happy birthday. So I'm able to every now and then catch little things. The brothers, when I was in Russia, were doing a TV show that Paula was doing that I danced with Paula. So I got to see the brothers and got to kind of connect. I was like, oh, I danced for your brother during this time. And they're like, oh yeah, and it was like, so those opportunities are neat, that I can still have that little bit of a connection with the family.
¿Tú llegaste a ir a Neverland? Hace ratito mencionaste.
No, I never got to go. No, I went to the family house.
Encino.
Yeah.
In Encino.
Yeah. I want to say I went twice. But I went with Janet. Janet was like, hey, want to see the house? I was like, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. We went to Magic Mountain too, which was fun. And I think that's why we met there. And then we all went up to Magic Mountain. There was a group of us.
Oye, ese Super Bowl, yo como soy fanático de los deportes, el Super Bowl es icónico, ese del 93 con Michael, es el primero más grande en la historia, los ratings, todo esto.
It changed, it changed how Super Bowl halftimes were done.
¿Alguna historia que tengas de ese día que te recuerdes, además de olvidar que bailaste?
I remember the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Yo también.
Walked into, yeah, you did. They walked into our dressing room, and I think I was changing, and I was like, and they were like, "Hi!" I was like this. Oh my gosh! Hey.
Te toca antes de entrar, niña.
Yeah, that was pretty funny because I was like, "Wow, they're beautiful." Great. That was awkward. And then I remember seeing the teams, and I remember the Dallas team was much bigger than the Buffalo team. Because the Bills, and they were big, but the Dallas team, I was like, wow, that dude's huge. Like, they were huge. It was really chaotic when the coming together of the stage, because I don't think you saw any of that on TV, but they brought the stage from four corners and brought it together to put it together like a puzzle. So it was quick. They had to do everything really quick. So we were like, boom, get into place, get behind the band, be ready to go. And then it was live. Let's go, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was here in my neighborhood, it was like not too far from where I live.
Es el Rose Bowl de Pasadena, ¿no?
Yeah. So that's not too far from where I live, which was, neat because I was like, oh, great. I can just drive there. It's not like we have to fly anything. I was like, there's my pass. Yeah. Except if I remember right, I think I had to drive somewhere else, and we bussed in together so we could bus out when we were done. Yeah, and which was funny because I think I had to drive farther to get to where we were busing than to actually drive to the Rose Bowl.
¿Y dónde hicieron las prácticas? Porque hay un video donde Michael está como en un tent.
I don't remember.
No?
Like no, it's a little. When we would rehearse, sometimes we were at studios. Like remember the time. I remember we did some stuff, and we were near downtown when we rehearsed. We were at a few places around. Trying to remember, Dangerous. I think we were at a dance studio, like one of the bigger ones.
Oye, ¿qué tan complicado es hacer Dangerous? Porque yo he intentado bailar esa y...
You should do it.
Fíjate que yo fui a un Best Buy. Cuando yo primero llegué a Estados Unidos, fui a un Best Buy y tenían en las pantallas... No, era un Circuit City, cuando tenían Circuit Cities. Y tenían en la pantalla, tenían el MTV Performance. Y lo vi ahí y se miraba tan clarito y looked kind of HD. And it looked beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I need to have that DVD. Tengo que comprar ese DVD. Y lo compré... Ya me lo llevé. Y es que también él bailándolo, no nomás se miraba clarito, sino que el baile era perfecto. O sea, era como que dije, ¿qué onda? Me volví a recordar por qué era fan de Michael Jackson. Y eso me reconectó a Michael, ese video, porque yo me había perdido de Michael mucho tiempo. Pero ese video, ese día en esa tienda, y compré el disco, el DVD, ahí lo tengo todavía. Me encanta ese de 95 y Dangerous. Tengo una conexión especial con esa canción por eso, por la coreografía. Genial.
Yeah, the opening was inspired by a Judy Garland movie. There's an opening where you have the ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, and that was like there was and if you listen where he says dangerous and then you hear people saying dangerous, that's us. That was really us.
Oh, okay.
So every time I see it, I go, that's my voice. I could hear me. Like,
Genial.
Yeah, it was that particular song was physically hard. Like it was they did it was fun, but it was like 7 minutes long too. Like it's long. I was like, whoo. And then when I found out they were doing it on tour, I was like, the whole thing? What? Ow! Woo! Good luck! Because like when you see us do it the first time, we're running in and out. So like I did a part and then I'd leave and then another group's doing another part and they leave, and then we're back, and then we leave, and then there's another group, and then we're all together. So there's constantly new people. When they did it on tour, it's just them, I think, but I've never ever been able to see the whole tour version. So I'm not totally sure like how long they were out there, but I know, again, I think with each tour too, it got a little more physically demanding because of the costumes and the different, things that you were, the things just got bigger, and with the tank and all that kind of stuff. So I can't even imagine, I've probably been in great shape on that tour.
Oye, el moonwalk es un paso que es obviamente icónico para Michael Jackson. Ahí fui como yo lo conocí a Michael por el moonwalk. ¿Y por qué crees que ese paso en específico sea tan importante para todo el mundo? En los conciertos, todo el mundo grita, la gente lo conoce por el moonwalk, la gente que no conoce su música. ¿Qué tiene el moonwalk? Es un paso que en realidad es fácil.
No es tan difícil.
Entonces, yo lo puedo hacer fácilmente y me sale perfecto. Pero ¿por qué el moonwalk atrae tanto a la gente? ¿Qué tiene ese paso?
It goes back to that performance when he did Billie Jean, when he first did it and people saw him do it. No one, I don't think, no one had ever seen that like that. Like they'd never seen it, the street dancers had, but no one like the most public. So he made it famous. It became his signature, like the glove, like, certain things that became his, certain things that how he moved became, when you see someone, the kick, when he kicks, they became his signatures, and people identified. Not very many artists have those, like signature. Prince had some signatures, where it was, Madonna had some stuff, but if you look too, same era, and they were all very unique, and yet there are things about them that are similar, I think you don't see it as much now. I mean, I always do think there are artists, that are like I look at Beyonce and I go, she's legit. She's like, yeah. I mean, when I go, that's a full thought out. She knows but I know she studied Michael.
Sí.
Because I've seen it. I was like, oh, that looks like this. And that looks like that.
Incluso
I wonder where you got that, but
Super Bowl, su atuendo, todo era un homenaje,
yes,
a esa presentación. Sí.
But it's okay because Michael did the same thing. Michael, like I was saying, his tap dance is Fred Astaire. Smooth Criminal is Fred Astaire. Like he dresses like Fred Astaire. Sí. Like, there's things. It's okay to do those things. Like if you look up to someone, I'm always just like, that's why I always talk about like Vincent, and Jeffrey Hornaday. And then I talk about Michael Peters, Lavelle, Travis, all of them. Each of them has contributed to something. Courtney, who's a lot of people didn't know, worked with Lavelle and Travis. He did stuff on Ghost. So did Barry Lather, all of those people to me deserve all those credits because they've Barry worked with Janet, it's like they've all established a part of history within the Michael community. So like, it's not, I always like when I teach any of the dances, part of my teaching is to teach you where it came from and who the person was. So you understand, so that maybe you'll go look up their work, because it's important, because sometimes people don't do that. And that's where it gets weird, for me, and especially with dance, man, because there's stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, maybe you should tell, like, but they've all created such, like Kenny Ortega, what he brought to Michael was very unique. Vincent, like I said, Vincent was there for some of the most iconic stuff at the beginning. Like way at the beginning, like Beat It and Thriller, and he was there with Michael Peters, so it got passed to him when Michael Peters passed away and went to Vincent. It just all of that. Like I always, because there are kids that don't know, and they just learn the moves, but they don't know where they come from. There are things that are even in the videos. Yeah. even in the videos, people will be like, well, what did Michael do? What did Vincent do? I'm like, I don't know. They're kind of mixed. Like when I was saying with the rabbit, there's things Michael also would feed off of what you do and do something. And then you would feed off of what he did and do something. And you just continuously. So it was like, it's like good cooking. You know, you take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, boom, you know, and it's good. It's and it doesn't matter, but it does matter.
Esa falta de reconocimiento entonces es por la naturaleza del trabajo,
yeah.
Porque el baile es así.
And it's so important in the dance community because dancers don't get the credit and choreographers don't get the credit that they should. You know, I'm fortunate people know our names. But, you know, they don't always know who the dancers are on tours. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't always know who the choreographers are on tours. They don't know who like right now, dance is suffering quite a bit because of the pandemic. There's nothing there. There's nothing for us to do except teach, you know, when we can. We're finding our way. We're trying to still create art. We're still trying to do it because it's important. It's part of what heals us. But you know, like Broadway, I mean, it's shut down, you know, Vegas shut down, like it's open, but all the shows are shut, you know, and Hollywood, they're going to start making movies, but they probably won't bring dancers back for a while because again, usually you had dancers to do a big production and you can't do that right now. You have to be safe, you know, That's why, like I said, I'll get the shot. I'll be like,
aquí. Oye, ¿te tocó hacer el moonwalk en alguno de los shows o videos? ¿Te tocó hacer a ti el moonwalk, tal vez en Smooth Criminal? Porque no lo hacen ustedes, los bailarines.
We do it right at the end of Smooth, like right at the before we get shot. Mm-hmm. We do the roll, and then we walk, and then we do it really like
3 steps back. That's it.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then we're moved on to the lean. Uh-huh. But it's because it's his.
Es él, claro.
You know, it's like most of the time you would never see me turn at the same time as him.
Ah, okay.
We kind of picked our spots, and if I turned, I did my version of a turn. I didn't do his.
¿No tuviste oportunidad de trabajar con Prince?
No, I always wanted to though. It was funny. He came to our show in Minneapolis, and I remember I knew he was there. He was another one. He was walking down the hallway like George Jefferson. You know, he had this like walk. And it was him, Sheila E., and I think Kat was there. So they were in the audience. So that was the show I decided I was going to do all my Prince moves because that's like he had a mic thing that he would do where you would hit the mic this way, you would swing your leg over the mic, you would catch the mic, you go to the ground, then you pop up. So I did it. I practiced all day, and I did it. And then I pointed at him, you know, like I was like,
I got you.
I got you. Yeah. But I did see him live like three times. I saw him once in Europe. I saw him twice here in Los Angeles, once at the Forum and once at the Palladium. The Palladium show is the most amazing show I've been to that was like intimate. He did 3 hours.
Wow.
Like straight up, you know, and like when he came to our show, everything was just, we knew he was there. So we stepped up our game. Michael was like amazing, ridiculously good that night. Cause you always did. When you knew certain people were there, you stepped up. You did. It just gave you a certain energy. After Michael passed away, when I saw Prince at the Forum, at one point he walked over to his band. He said something and they started playing Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. And he started dancing. He's like, it's my jam. And I was like this.
There you go.
You know, because as much as they had a rivalry, I see they still had respect
claro.
For each other,
uh-huh.
You know, and a lot of people get that confused. You know, you can be competitive towards something, but you don't have to make it into a I don't like you kind of a scenario. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and again, it goes back to like what I try to do with kids. I'm like, yeah, competitions are cool and it's really fun to win a trophy, but it's just as much fun to see someone smile because you did something on the stage, and it will last longer. You know, you'll be able to, it's a joy for me to, you know, it's been 30 something years since I've danced with Michael, but it's a joy for me to have people still remember, you know, and still, oh, I remember when you were here. And sometimes like they will say something and I go, oh, I remember that. Like it brings back, that's why I always encourage people. I'm like, if you got videos, send them my way. Cause I don't have all those videos. I have a lot though. I have this little suitcase that came with like 50 DVDs and it's got like all these, do you have that one?
Yeah.
I was like, when I heard about that one, I was like, wait, what? And it's got like the history tour. It's got all kinds of stuff. And I was like, it was hard to get, but I got that one.
Oye, lo que hace Prince y la gente de él, han sacado discos muy padres, recopilatorios, cosas geniales. El estate de Michael, pues como que, no sé, tienen otras ideas en mente. Pero con respecto a los bailarines, ¿crees que el estate pudiera hacer algo con los bailarines también que estuvieron con Michael?
I think like anything, like I don't know, it's a business. So I don't know what they, you know, when you're running a business, it's about what people want to see and what people like. I know like Lavelle will when before all of this would go different countries and teach. I've gone to different countries and to teach. Vincent Patterson's gone to different countries. I think that's our way of still keeping what we've done, you know, as part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I did it again, huh? Sorry. It's when I shift. I know. Yeah. No, so I didn't tell you. So the day before my birthday, I threw my back out. So bad. So I've been like, you see me shifting, it's because my back gets a little stiff and I'm like, yo soy viejito.
No, yo también ya. Ya no puedo bailar como antes.
Todos menos Jay.
Yeah, I always think I'm young and I'll do something and then 2 days later I'm like, oh. Yeah, but like, I think the way to keep legacies alive and to keep is teaching people about history, you know, connect the connections, teaching them like, you know, I try to be supportive of the band members when I see they've done stuff, or Jennifer will do a podcast or something like that. I'll pop on and say hi. And, you know, I'm supportive of every dancer that's worked with Mike. You know, we're a small community and I think it's the only way to be. You know, I usually teach Thriller right around Halloween. If this pandemic's still going on, I may do one big, huge Zoom thing where we just go in and I'll be like, everybody's got to dress up, yo. And then, you know, do it, you know, and I teach it, it's legit. Like I do it the way that they did it in the video. It's a little different than when we did it, you know, but I do it the video version. So it's long and it's it's very complete. Smooth Criminal is a very complete thought, but it's tougher to teach because it's more of it's immersive. Like you're in the video in Smooth. In Thriller, you're watching it. In Smooth, you're in it. Like it's like moving around you, which is what, again, separates, because people go, which one do you like better? I'm like, they're different. They're just really different. You know, it's like, I grew up seeing Thriller, so like I connect to that because I also like monsters. So like I'm connect to that, you know. The movements are so famous, but so is Smooth. You know, you know, like you see the snap. That's the other thing. The kids that I teach can't believe how loud my snap is, and I explain to them it's because I did this for 7 weeks. You know, 7 weeks of snapping, and I got really good at it because he would want you to snap so loud you could hear it over the music. So you'd be like, and like, I snap now and the kids are like, whoa, how are you doing that? I was like, some training. Yeah.
En el caso de tú como bailarín y la comunidad de la gente que lo hace de manera profesional, ¿cómo ves a Michael? Porque yo entiendo y por la experiencia es como que él era un bailarín más, así como también el canto, ¿no? Como más autodidacta, ¿no? Como era una cuestión que él no tenía tanto la técnica o no venía de esa escuela tan técnica, sino que más bien lo aprendió de ver. Pero
yes and no.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know Michael also would take classes. He would bring in the best to work with him. So like he took tap classes from friends of mine. They would go and teach him tap dancing. He would take popping from different people because he wanted to learn their style a little bit. So he trained, it's just a different kind of way of doing it. You know, it's the same in the sense that it's like taking a class, you know, but you're not necessarily taking a class with other people. You're just, you're bringing the class to you.
Tú solito.
Yeah, because to do what he did, there is a training. It doesn't just happen, you know. Yeah, and anybody that you ever see, like any artist, you know, you don't just jump into a video and dance. You train to be able to do it. You learn how to do it better, you know, and then the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Te preguntamos porque de alguna forma, o sea, queríamos saber tu visión como bailarín profesional, porque el público en general siempre está más atento a Michael como bailarín que como cantante. Para nosotros no, porque somos fans de él y de su música, pero la mayoría de personas más lo identifica como bailarín que como cantante. Entonces, por eso queríamos saber cómo lo ves tú como un bailarín profesional, cómo lo ves a él como bailarín. ¿Qué tipo de bailarín es para ti?
Yeah,
¿O cuán bueno?
I still see him as the singer first. That's me, you know, but I see him as the entertainer. You know, I couldn't do what he did, you know, because that's him. You know, there was something, it's like when, again, you know, I always go back to how I teach. I tell every kid, we all have something that's unique to us that no one else can do like you. So when, you know, some people I know that have done stuff, they're copying what we did, but they're not us. So their idea of what it is isn't always necessarily what it is. It's what they thought it was, you know? So like, it's fun for me to teach Thriller and then for people to go, oh, I didn't know you did that. And I go, yeah, this is where it gets into. And then generationally, depending on which group you were with, that can also change the style of how certain things were done. We did a thing for Vincent he got an award. And so it was Madonna's Vogue dancers. It was a bunch of Michael's dancers from different eras. So we did like The Way You Make Me Feel. We did Smooth Criminal. Some of the people that were in the video did it. You know, there's a bunch of us. Like there's a ton of us. And when we went back, what was cool is that the younger kids that even had danced with Michael were like, well, how did you guys do it? And I would say, well, we did this. I know you're doing this. And they're like, no, we're going to do it that way. We want to do it that way because that's how Vince did it, because it's Vincent's stuff. So we want to do it the way it was done and not maybe what our version is, you know, which I thought was cool. And when I teach Thriller, that's how I try to do it. I try to do it the way they did it in the video, but the way Michael told me how to do it. You know, he was, you know, everybody looks at James Brown and, you know, James Brown danced, you know, but James Brown was a soloist. Michael he danced more like you would see Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, where he sang but he danced with a group of dancers, you know, and I think that's where he changed music. Like that was it. Like he created when you see an artist and you see the group of dancers, it came from him and what he did and those choreographers.
Entonces, para ti es primero un cantante, o sea, tú lo ubicas como lo primero.
I think so.
Es el canto.
Because it goes back to, man, if you listen to him when he was a kid, that soul, woo, when you hear him singing
Who's Loving
in
You?
those young when he was young and then his stylistically the things that he did still exists. You still hear even later like the way he beatboxed, the way he added those those little you hear that in other artists now. They're there. Like they put in those sounds, because it becomes musically part of the music. And yeah, sometimes I'll play songs like, some kids like they don't know his later stuff, and I'll play a song and they're like, what is that? And I was like, oh, that's Michael, and he's beatboxing. Yo, what? And there's in the Dangerous one, in the rehearsals, there's a break in one of the songs and it's like black on stage, and if you just listen, and he beatboxes and starts singing a song and there's no music and it's just him, and I was like, and I remember he was doing songs from Dangerous, the album, that we hadn't heard. He was just in between. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. What was that? Are we dancing to that? No. Oh, bummer.
¿Qué canción te hubiera gustado que estuviera en el set list que no estuvo, ya sea del Bad o de Dangerous?
Oh, it was in the set list, but I wanted to dance to it. I wanted to dance to Bad. I wanted to do the dance from Bad. I wanted to do the all that. I wanted to do it so bad. I always wanted him to do oh gosh, I'll pull it up. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up on my I have my song lists right here.
A mí en Bad me gusta el pasito donde le hacen así. Ese paso está muy padre.
Hold on, one sec. I'm pulling up his album because I know there was one song I always asked him if he could do it. And
a mí me hubiera encantado Remember the Time, pero pues ya nos dijiste toda la triste historia detrás de eso.
Yeah, no, it's something on hold on. See all. I have like every album, every version of every album.
Muy bien.
Yeah, thank you.
Muy bien.
Where was it? Oh, I wanted him to do The Lady in My Life.
Oh.
So bad. I was like, yo, can you do that song? Because when he said it at the end, I was like, oh.
No, esa o I Can't Help It.
Yeah. If you look, when you look at Dangerous and we do this breakdown, that's I Can't Help It is what we learned it to.
Oh.
It goes to that song.
Oh, sí.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't help because sometimes you would switch songs just to get a different feel. But it goes to that it goes to that one.
Okay.
Qué bien, qué bien.
Me refería a I Can't Help It de Off the Wall, la que es de Stevie Wonder.
Oh, yeah.
Súper.
Pero eso es más romántico, ¿no?
Sí, o sea, pero ¿por qué The Lady in My Life, Eddie?
Ooh, that was the jam right there. I know, and he's like, oh no, it's because he always did She's Out of My Life. So I was like, oh.
Pero ¿qué dijo que por qué no la podía?
Oh no, he just liked the fact that I liked the song. A lot of times, so like the way a set list is structured for a concert is you have to give them the hits. You have to give them the things that charted. Mm-hmm. You have to give them. You can't give them. Very few artists can get away with doing B-sides or things that people have never heard. Prince can do anything he wants because he could literally do anything he wanted to. And you'd be like, oh, but not everybody can do that. Michael was very selective because he wanted the audience to be able to sing every single song all the way through. So like the songs that were put in there they were the hits. They were the ones that and they always had to be there. Like it was hard for him to take a song out. You know, remember the time, really, the only reason he took it out, it was too hard. Like, it was just physically too hard.
No. Yo amo ese video, o sea, es mi canción y mi video, entonces es como que nunca, en los Soul Trains estaba lastimado y en el concierto no funcionó tampoco, pero...
Well, and man, that dance breakdown was so hard. I was like, what are we doing? I was like, you know.
Es la coreógrafa es una mujer, ¿no? Es
that was Fatima.
Fatima Robinson. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, you know, there was a lot of influences, a lot of hip hop influences so it was just a different style for us to learn. And then on top of it, when we did it with the masks.
Oye, ¿y por qué Michael tenía muchos más bailarines hombres que lo que verías de mujeres? Porque obviamente hubo bailarinas, pero eran como esporádicas, ¿no? O sea, no eran parte del ensamble constante.
I think the connections with the brothers. So
como
like
reproducir eso, el grupo.
El grupo, because he grew up and that's what he felt was the brothers always. So it was comfortable to have us here, you know.
Entonces, ¿tú quién eras? Tito, Jackie, Jermaine.
No, but we were. I mean, we were on the Bad Tour. That's what we were. We did dances, but having that what's comfortable makes sense, you know.
Sí, en Shake Your Party era Randy. Esa parte era Randy.
Oh yeah.
Sí. Que queríamos preguntarte para ir como un poco cerrando, yo te quisiera preguntar, ¿cuál fue tu último recuerdo de Michael? ¿Cuál fue la última vez que lo viste? O sea, como, ¿qué es lo último que tú recuerdas así que tuviste contacto con él?
There's two different ones. The last time I saw him, there was the Virgin Megastore record shop.
In Invincible, cuando Invincible. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I was at the Virgin Megastore upstairs. It was one in Hollywood that was two levels. So I was upstairs. That's where the movies and the video games were. I had a break, and so I didn't have anywhere to go. So I think I went to eat at the center, and I was upstairs playing a video game. And I saw Michael's driver walk in, and I go, oh, that guy looks like the guy that drives Michael around. And then Michael walked in, and I was like this. So, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want to bother him. And so I just kept playing my video game. And then I felt someone tap me, and it was him. And he's like, hey. And I was like, hi. And he goes, you didn't think I recognized you, huh? And I was like, oh. I was like, so, and we got to talk a little bit, and we were sitting there, and he was asking me about my family, and I was asking about his family. We were talking about video games and movies, and then he started talking about how much fun our tours were. He goes, that was such a good time. He goes, it was such a beautiful time. And I was like, it was, you know, and that was like and then he's like, well, I got to get going. It was really nice. He gave me a hug. He left, and then I went back to teach, and I was like, wow, that was just really unique that happened. Yeah. And then the last time I spoke to him, Lavelle was with him, and I had called Lavelle, and this is just before. So this is about 2 months before This Is It started, like with the rehearsals and all of the stuff. So it's kind of in the conception stage of coming up with a show. Mm-hmm. He was meeting with Lavelle. I know he was meeting with different people, you know, and I think that's, you know, he's met with Kenny and Travis and them. But like, this is prior to him talking. I don't know if he'd been talking to Kenny, but Lavelle was with him. They were at a hotel. And I called Lavelle, and I was like, hey, because Lavelle wanted to see if I could meet him somewhere. I don't know if we were going to meet at the house where Mike was, or if Mike was going to come. That's what it was. Lavelle was at the hotel. Mike was at the house. And this was, unfortunately, the house that he passed away in. But Mike was at the house. Lavelle was at the hotel. I met Lavelle at the hotel. Lavelle was talking and goes, hold on. And he handed me the phone, and then it was Michael, and he's like, hey, how are you? How's that? And he was just talking. And he was sweet. Again, same thing. Always asked about my family. how's your family? How's everybody doing? Feel good, you know? And he was just, and then I asked him about his family. It was just, you know, our polite little exchange. He was real sweet. He was like, it's so nice to hear your voice. And then again, he always referred back to like what a great time our time was, like our group. So, you know, at the time, I know we were in the creative discussions because they were, before they came up with This Is It, there were different discussions of the different ways the show could be done. You know, one point they were going to mix the old and the new, have some of us who were with him for a group of years with a group of new people, kind of a mix. You know, then I think they chose to, you know, go with the new kids, you know, because that was just the direction they wanted to go. But I mean, conceptually, I thought it was really neat. Like if we could have found that middle ground, you know, with even in the band. I mean, if you had a band with some part, like it would have told his story.
Yeah.
You know, and it would have been a really beautiful thing for me to see. What they tried to do too was, again, could have been an amazing event also. You know, we never really got to see it. You know, it never got really flushed out. But it's always that shoulda, coulda, maybe, but we were fortunate enough to get what we did get. And we always can be thankful. And there's always things that people can look back on. You know, I always tell people to go back and watch the Bad tour at Wembley Stadium to hear him, not to watch me or watch us, but to hear him singing on that show, because he goes off. Like, it's like, you know, some people I saw another thing on Twitter and people were like, oh, he didn't do Dirty Diana. And I was like, no, he did it. No, he did it. And she was there. And, you know, I know he did it. And he did it because he asked permission first.
Uh-huh.
Like, he wasn't going to do it because they told us we're cutting that song out. Mm-hmm. And then they got word that she liked the song. She liked the song. I was like, good for her, princess. I love that you love the Dirty Diana song. Good for you. So he did it, and he did it probably one of the strongest times you'll ever see him do it. Like, it was just so, because she was there too. So it was extra, you know. That one was always fun for me to watch him. I just like the light hitting him, and I just the guitar. Everything about that song I used to love watching. I was like, oh, you know, and the way he would just bounce, I was like, oh, you know, and then his turn to the knees, I was like, ah.
Yeah.
Sí, nosotros los hemos visto a veces a ustedes aplaudir o darse palmadas uno con otro, saludarse, como que están divirtiéndose mucho viéndolo a él.
Always, even on stage.
On stage.
You know, you would see him do something, or even with the band, someone would do something or play something, and we would be like, oh, you know, high-fiving. And I think that's what made our tour special. You know, as the tours progressed, sometimes the band and the dancers were pulled further away from him, and he was more out by himself, where we were blessed to be right around him a lot. So it gave us a different energy for us, you know, because there's ways it both work. You know, I understand why, you know, especially now, like, you know, with what I do, I understand why you can do both, or not do one or do the other.
Ajá. En el caso que estás comentando de la tienda de Virgin, donde lo viste, ¿te acuerdas más o menos qué época fue eso? Porque entonces fue antes de la llamada, antes de This Is It, ¿no? ¿Qué época fue eso?
Yeah, I think it was after History.
Oh.
I knew he had the kids.
Okay.
But they weren't with him that day. They weren't with him that day, but I knew he had the kids. I asked about them because I hadn't met them. Yeah, no, and it was nice to see. He would take his glasses off to talk to me, you know, so it was just really nice. I know people in the store probably were like, how do you know him? You know, I was like, hey.
Así tan casual.
Because you saw, like, había una persona que estaba trabajando, and then they were pretending to work. Like they were pretending to put things away and there'd be more people pretending. And I'm like, why are all these people up here? There was never anybody up there. But when he got there, there was all kinds of people like, you see them moving things and I'm like,
sacudiendo, limpiando.
Yeah, so they never did. They'd be like, oh, let me take this over here.
Oye, Eddie, es una cosa bien bonita que nos gusta mucho escuchar y que hemos tenido oportunidad de escucharlo de muchos colaboradores, pero este sentimiento de, como dices, de que Michael era una persona como tan educada y tan considerada, ¿no? Esto de preguntar por tu familia, el tener ese trato así, algunos dicen, eso no es algo muy común en la industria, no es muy común que un artista, y sobre todo del tamaño de él, como que tenga ese tipo de acercamiento. ¿Para ti fue eso mismo también? ¿En tu experiencia eso es algo que no es muy común?
It's funny. I think it's more common than not. Usually the people that are not like that usually aren't successful for too long.
Oh, okay.
Like, I've been pretty fortunate. I've worked with some pretty nice people. And sometimes even when they weren't nice, they were really professional. So sometimes that can be mistaken for not being nice because they're working. Like we're here to work. They're not there to be your friend. But, I've been pretty fortunate. I've worked with some pretty nice people on, I just recently worked on, I don't know if you guys have the show Lucifer.
Sí.
Oh, so the new season, I can't say what I did, but I did something on the new season. And that cast, that group of people was so beautiful. They were so sweet and so nice. And they were like, there was a lot of dancers and they kept thanking each of like they'd see a new person. Hey, you guys are doing such a great job. You look beautiful. When I see that, it makes me so happy in Hollywood to see people that see that. And there's, like I said, that more often than not, you do see that.
Y como dices, son los que realmente tienen un éxito más duradero. Porque...
Yeah, usually. Yeah, sometimes the people that aren't so nice, they're usually pretending to be something that they're not. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think if you are what you are, you usually generally will be nice. Mm-hmm. Not always. I know I have stories of people, but I just don't tell them, and it's not necessarily people I worked with, but people I know that have worked with certain people that haven't always been very nice, and that's unfortunate, but it's a job. You don't have to be there you don't have to be best friends. Mm-hmm. It's like, show up, do your work, get your check, peace out.
Sí. Y si yo te diera a escoger entre Bad Tour y Dangerous Tour, ¿con cuál te quedas tú así como que fue tu favorito? A lo mejor te estoy diciendo, te cortas la mano izquierda o la mano derecha, pero ¿cuál?
My preference is the Bad Tour because I got to be there for the whole thing. But I love the Dangerous Tour and what we did, and there's certain things in the Dangerous Tour that I thought were really amazing and stuff like that. But just the way I was able to see the world in the Bad Tour, and because it was his first tour, it was just, the energy was different. He was younger, we were younger.
Y era otro mundo, ¿no? Como dices.
Yeah, it just was different. Yeah. And there are like I said, very few artists that can do what he did. Like Beyonce is probably one of the few. Mm-hmm. She can sell out stadiums. She can do it.
Y es completa, ¿no?
Yeah.
Canta, baila, compone.
And she dances and sings, she goes, and I'm like, it's nice to see, because there's always going to be one. There always exist. Mm-hmm. There's some really hopeful artists. People are like, everybody's always comparing people to Michael. I'm like, yeah, because for the same reason they compared Michael to James Brown and Little Richard. You always are going to compare people, but they're people of different eras that did something special for that particular era. You'll never be able to take away what Michael did for art industry, for dancers, and for what we are for artists. Mm-hmm. It's because of him that we got to do that. He did it, then his sister did it, then everybody did it. You know, Madonna started doing it. You know, everybody, you had your dancers. You know, your group of dancers, and they were unique to you. And now every artist has that. Some keep people. You'll always see this dancer with that artist. Some don't. You know, it changes. You know, it just depends on the album, which is totally cool too. Like, you know, again, you know, dance is a way of expressing yourself. When you get to be with someone that appreciates that and allows you to express yourself fully is a blessing, you know. And but at the end of the day, it's still a job. You know, your job is to go out there and give the best show possible and entertain the people that have paid good money to be there, whether they're in the front or the back. It doesn't matter, because they both paid something. So your job, they're paying you to make sure that experience is great. And I always try to do that. I've always like, I tell the kids, you know, they want the same show. It doesn't matter that this person paid $8,000 and that person paid $5,000. You know, it doesn't matter. They still want a good show.
Sí. ¿Y cuál era tu canción favorita de actuar? ¿Cuál era como tu performance favorito, el que tú más disfrutabas de los dos?
I don't know. I'm between. I like Thriller and I like Smooth.
Okay.
In Smooth, I like getting when I got shot at the end, all the sparks. I always like the effects. I was like, woo! Smooth was fun because I love the breakdown, the little like break. Thriller was fun because I got to be a zombie. It was fun. I was like, you know, even if it was hot, it was fun. Like, you know, being a creature and trying to like, you know, make yourself look, because he would be like, show your teeth, and you're like, you're doing all like trying to like make yourself weird looking. And but every song had something different that was fun. You know, Want to Be Starting Something, we got to be free. We got to play with microphone stands. We got to like, you know, you played Rockstar for a little bit. You know, I got to do a magic trick. Not a lot of people get to do that. I got, you know, like when we were in Japan, I got to talk to the audience. You know, I guess like there were always different experiences that were fun, you know. So, but I love performing Smooth. It's fun, but I also love performing Thriller. Just those two are just, I do love doing The Way You Make Me Feel. You know, it's just short. It's like really, really short. You know, where the other two it's the whole thing, you know, most of the time.
¿Y cuál dirías que es tu álbum favorito? Si es que puedes escoger uno. Así que ahorita que los tenías ahí en tu computadora, ¿cuál es como tu álbum, ya sea el que más escuchas o el que tiene más canciones que te gustan? ¿Tienes alguno que identifiques?
The complete collection. The one that's like every song with all the mixes and the DVDs, the one that you showed me. No, you know what? It's funny because I play different things from different albums for different reasons. You know, like I'll play Heartbreaker, which a lot of people don't, you know, because I like the breakdown. I have like a whole thing to his beatbox, you know. I did a dance a few years back for a studio. There were 111 kids in it. 111 kids in one dance. And it was a mix of Janet and Michael. So they did Rhythm Nation. They did Heartbreaker. They did, like, we kept going back and forth. So I picked songs that normally you don't hear. Like I tried to pick things that were just to make it different, you know, I do the same when I play the music. I try to pick songs that you don't necessarily always hear, like, you know, but you know, I play Don't Stop Till You Get Enough a lot. I play a Thriller every October, but I play the video version. I don't play the album version.
Okay.
Yeah, so I play the video, like the breakdown. Smooth, I do the same. I play the video version because I do the whole breakdown.
¿No te pasa de repente como sentir esto que estás oyendo la canción, a veces el video y dices, ¿de verdad pasó? Estuve yo ahí.
It's a little weird, you know. No, I know. Sometimes I go, like some of the kids I taught, they're like, wait, that's you? And I'm like, yeah, that's me when I was like your age. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I was your age. You, me, same age. That's me when I was 16.
I wasn't born this way.
Yeah, but you know, it's cool. You know, the kids I teach thought I was in my 30s, which I'm like, great. But you know, it's like, but it's hard. You know, it's like you know, I did a workshop for some friends of mine have a studio in Buffalo, and I had 50 something kids in the class, and I did a Michael inspired dance inspired by ghosts. Like, so, you know, I was doing, but it's a mix. Like I use the video, but things that they do in the video, things they don't do in the video, things, you know, cause I didn't do the video. So I'd put my own little flavor on it, you know? So I do, it is part of who I am and what I do. You know, there are influences of it. I don't think it'll ever leave me. You know, I hope not, you know. So.
¿Cuál dirías tú o cómo consideras tú que Michael debería ser recordado?
I think people get caught up in more tabloid stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, I know a lot of fans, his real fans always push back against that, you know, but go back to the music, you know, go back to the music, listen, go to the videos, learn. Nothing that you're going to see today hasn't been done. And you'll probably see it in one of his videos first. Mm-hmm. And if not, I also tell him to look at his videos and then find out where he got the idea for the video and look at those videos, because that'll teach you something too. It's real. And I think this of any artist, it's real easy. We live in a world where everything is so accessible, and you can catch people on a good day or a bad day, and you can make a judgment. And that's why I try to tell people, I'm like, you can't judge anyone. You don't know who they are, what they're going through. You may not agree with them, you know, some people may not agree with things that people have said about Michael, but if you can be non-judgmental and then you not agree with them, but non-judgmental and open your heart up to some compassion, that's where I think you can help change those people or help change people around you, you know, because it's real easy. Like, you know, it's going back to what we were talking about, politics. You know, I don't agree with certain things, but I'm not going to, for me to go yell at somebody because we don't see eye to eye, it's not going to really accomplish anything. But so if I can have a conversation and, you know, and we can go and have some food and hang out and listen to music, probably are going to come somewhere in the middle and understand. Mm-hmm. And that's what always, you know, I'm very honored and blessed that fans have stayed so loyal to us and our group and the people that worked with Michael, and they've always been sweet and nice to me. You know, I was a little sensitive about the Twitter stuff this morning because, you know, I was like, you know, when I speak about and I'm not saying this to make the person feel bad who was questioning it because, when I speak about my stories, like I said, you know, I remember it, but you know, some of those did happen so many years back. You know, for some people, they just watched it yesterday, and that's great. That's amazing. You know, but for us, I mean, we lived it. We were there. We lived it. So we were like, I know what it felt like because so how you express that, I think is really important, you know, because I want to see the video too. I've been looking for that video forever because I was like, for us to do it once was enough, you know? But you know, and I understand, like, I'm never out there to try to fool people or say like they're wrong. It's just not what I'm about. It's like, no, I'm sure you're right. What you know, but I also know what I know, and I know, you know, and I wasn't the only one that said something, you know, so. And again, I'm not saying this to make the person feel bad, you know, because I know they were just everybody, you're trying to when I was on tour, everything that would come out from Prince, I had albums that he didn't put out. And it's because I had friends that worked with him, so I could get stuff, you know? So I was like, I have this album, bam, you know, and I was like, you know, but I mean, there's things, you know, there are things people remember because at that point in their life, it touched them a certain way. So it's never questioning that. I'm never like saying the person's not wrong. You know, I just remember sweating in a mask and hating how it felt, even though I liked the idea. I thought the idea was cool, but actually doing it was crazy. Yeah.
Was not cool.
Yeah, no.
Está otra vez sonando tu micrófono.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Is it back?
Ahí se oye mucho.
Okay. Is that better? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Pues,
Eddie, ¿cuál sería como la principal lección profesional o personal que tú aprendiste de tu tiempo trabajando directamente con él? Es como si pudieras pensar como una cosa que aprendiste de él, ¿qué sería una lección con la que tú te quedaste de él directamente?
I think it's always important to stay connected with family. You know, I know this is a weird lesson that people might not see, but family was very important to him. You know, I think that's why he worked so hard to have a family of his own, you know, and because that's how he came in through the business. My family is not only my physical family, but it's like my friends who I've known for years and the people I've worked with. We're an extended family. We take care of each other. We've always done that, and we always will do that. So I always don't get caught up in the business so much that you forget that. And it can be hard sometimes. It can be challenging. You know, you just have to find a way to sometimes, you know, you know, I started the camp to try to do something different, to try to get kids involved in something still connected through dance, but to see, look, we can do it outdoors. Look, this person that you saw on TV 2 weeks ago is teaching you and they're really nice. You know, look, they all say the same thing about how it starts in your heart. You know, isn't that interesting? You know, it's like, everything, like, you know, I'm learning. Every day I learn to try to be better, you know, and, you know, it's funny because only person I think I ever argue with is my wife. Well, like, you know, but, you know, through this, everybody's like, how's the pandemic been with you guys? And I was like, oh, we've grown so close because she reminds me of the things that I need to work on as a person, but she also reminds me of how much someone can love someone. Like, she's always like really present. So it's like, I'm really super appreciative for her. Like, she's really like, she's my safe spot, you know? It's the same. She's going to love that I said all this too. I'm going to get a big cake, some cookies. Yeah. But I think be good to people, especially the people that you don't like. Be good to them because you might change them. It's the hardest thing to do. And especially like, it's the hardest thing to do. Is to try to stay good and be good towards even the people that, you know, Martin Luther King had to sit down with the people that, you know, had a week before had dogs chase him, you know, and he would sit down and have conversation with them because he had to, you know, and I'm like, it's amazing not to say that I could always do that, you know, but you know, I do try, you know, you know, you give a little kid timeout. I'll give myself timeouts. Like I do it with my dancers all the time. Like I'll get upset and I'll be like, I'm gonna go take a timeout, and I walk out and then I'll come back and I'll talk and we'll talk. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm always encouraging believing yourself, even when it's hard, put your best foot forward, just do the best job you can. Don't let people's negativity get you down. All those things, it's hard though, you know, and it can wear on you, and that's where you need your support. That's where you need la familia importante.
Sí, muy como dices, en esta época con todo esto que está pasando, muchas de esas cosas están siendo más patentes para la gente, ¿no? La importancia de la cercanía es lo que estamos extrañando ahorita más, ¿no? El que no nos podemos reunir, no podemos ir como el fin de semana a la casa de la abuela, ¿no? A la convivencia, así, pues eso ahorita lo estamos valorando mucho más. Y Eddie, ¿tú cómo te enteraste o cómo supiste de su fallecimiento? ¿Cómo fue para ti ese 25 de junio? ¿Quién te avisó o lo viste en televisión?
I was working on a movie called My Family Wedding. It's with Forrest Whitaker and Regina King and America Ferrera. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Betty la Fea.
Yeah. So I was working on the movie, and Lavelle called me, and he goes, "They're taking Michael to the hospital," and I was like, "What does that mean?" Sometimes that meant Michael doesn't want to do something, and he's not. It's like it's gonna be a timeout. And he goes, "I don't know. Let me call you back." And I was like, "Okay." And then he called me back and he goes, no, he had some kind of heart attack or is cardiac arrest. I don't know. I'm trying to find out. I was like, heart attack? Why? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, let me call you back. The third time, just before he called me the third time, all of the phones went off on the movie set. And I heard he was dead. That's what I heard. Like, it was like, and I remember my heart sank. Forrest Whitaker came over to me because he knew I worked with him, and he was so sweet. And he goes, I heard about your friend. I'm really sorry. Which I thought was really genuine, and it's, again, so grateful to be around somebody so talented that's so caring. Mm-hmm. And I'm always grateful because I was put in that spot to be there with that person to tell me that, to make me feel okay. And my friend BJ, who I was talking about earlier, he was there because we were doing this, like, it was a wedding dance scene. So he was helping me because I needed extra people just to, if I need someone to work with the actress, you can go work with her while I have someone work with the actors, and, we'll just keep going back and forth. And he was shook, like he was shaking, it was like, it literally, like, just, everything kind of stopped that day, but like anything, we all don't know when things are going to happen in our life. So that's why I always say, don't try not to hang on to being angry, try to better yourself, try to stay positive, push those negative thoughts out. I think, unfortunately, a lot of stuff took its toll on Michael, and I wish some of us could have been around him, but, I also know he did have a lot of loving people around him that were trying, to be there, so we never know. I mean, it's like, you don't know, it's, even with this craziness that's happening right now, I've had friends that have caught it totally fine. Other friends, not so much. Like, it's been different. So it's like, you just can't take it for granted, so you can't, you have to, like, okay, I'm going to try to have a good day today. Okay. I'm going to try to, like, feel better. I'm going to try to, do something a little different, stay positive, but it's not always easy. I always I put that out for people. Like, I'm always, hey, 'cause, it's the teacher side of me. But just remind yourself, and then don't be afraid to talk to people. I think that's important. Talk to the right people, the people that'll tell you no. The ones that go, no, like my mom would be like, no. And you're like, okay. Because those are the people, yes, they look out for you, It's like my wife will tell me sometimes when I'm really, really wrong, and that's good. Like, she'll be like, no. Or my sister's the other one. She's like a superhero too. She'll be like, no. I'm like, okay. So I encourage people to do that. You don't want to always have people around you that tell you everything's perfect. Yes.
Y bueno,
es muy
Eddie,
peligroso para muchos sentidos. Y la familia justo es ese contrabalance, ¿no? Que te dice esto no, esto sí, o que te dice la verdad, ¿no? Y luego por eso no nos gusta, ¿no?
Yeah,
Pero,
sometimes it's terrible and you don't want to hear it.
Sí.
But at 2 or 3 days later, you go, I never understood, but it was weird. Anytime something, like I was saying, I was on the set with Forrest Whitaker. I was put there and at that moment, when my tour, what I experienced, I never had anything bad. We weren't ever not thought of as like people treated us amazing all the way through. I know some things changed for some of the groups later, and people weren't always nice to them, because it depended on how people felt towards Michael. I never had that. It was never like that for me. We were always treated great. We were always treated. People were sweet, So I've always been put in the right place for that. Don't always know it when it's happening, but later.
Cuando lo ves hacia atrás es que te das cuenta.
Yeah. Sí. Like I can't wait when this is all over. Like I told you, I'm gonna have a big old barbecue. We're gonna have some tacos, some margaritas. I'm gonna make it. Yes, go in. I'm like, I want it all. Some empanadas. Come on.
Todo, sí. Y nos da tanto gusto que esta locura que está pasando nos ha permitido ahorita tener la oportunidad a lo mejor de hablar contigo, ¿no? Más fácil porque todos estamos más guardaditos y algunas cosas se han podido acomodar para que podamos tener el gusto de conocerte. He disfrutado muchísimo la plática hoy. Nos has contado unas historias increíbles. Ha sido muy, muy agradable. Y quisiéramos que nos contaras, para ir despidiendo, qué estás haciendo tú actualmente. Nos compartiste lo de tu Camp Meet.
Yeah.
Entonces quisiéramos que nos contaras para que nos digas dónde te puede encontrar la gente. Ya nos dijiste ahorita que vas a aparecer en la serie Lucifer. Conozco varias personas que siguen muy, muy de cerca la serie. Entonces, para que nos digas dónde te pueden encontrar y qué es lo que tú estás haciendo ahora.
You can find me at Cuban_Ed on Instagram or Camp Me Dance.
Okay.
On Instagram, and then that's usually the easiest. Facebook's a little more difficult. I have too many friends now, so I don't even understand how that happened. But you can people sometimes will write, and I'll write people back. I've been trying, as much as I can. My Instagram's real easy. Like it's real easy to find, and my camp Instagram shows what our camp is, what it's about. It has a link to where I want kids. We keep it small. There's only about 50 people total. So it's about 45 kids and 5 adults that are there at the camp. But then I have 9 to 12 teachers, and they've worked with Taylor Swift, with Bruno Mars, with Beyonce, with Halsey. It's like everybody and anybody. They're friends of mine. Some of them are students. Some are people that I used to teach. They're like famous choreographers now. Some are my teachers. I bring my teachers because I try to teach. I want the kids to learn history. So I want them to meet the history. This person taught me. This year I was going to have one of my teachers who was one of my most influential teachers. She was going to teach, but we're hoping next year we just pushed it 1 year. So we'll do it again in the summer of next year. And we do it here in Los Angeles, and it's a beautiful camp. They have their own little private lake. We have water slides. They have the huge pool. We have zip lines. We have, s'mores, because you have to have s'mores. That's just part of what you have to do. But and then we dance. We dance outside, and we dance because we have to. It's because it's part of us. But we dance with no judgments. You don't have to be the best in the room. There's different. I'm trying to encourage, because it's not always the best dancer that becomes the best dancer. Sometimes it's the one with the heart. One of my students who he was one of Britney Spears' original dancers. His name's Andre, was one of my best students. Wasn't always the greatest technically, but became one of the greatest dancers ever because of his spirit. He again, unfortunately, passed away at a very young age, which is sad, but he is the thought process behind me doing a camp is to find those kids that spirit, those kids that I remember. He used to take classes. My friend Phineas had a small studio, and it was a small group of kids who I still keep in touch with them. They're all adults now and all have kids, which is weird. But I remember that studio was magical because there were only like 7 of them, that they grew each so individually, and that spirit of learning is sometimes you don't find in big classes or big, like, that's what I'm trying to reconnect, the spirit of wanting to learn, not because you're trying to be the best, but because you're trying to just get better, you know. I have a friend of mine, her name's Allison Falk. She's constantly, she choreographed the Magic Mike movie with Tatum. She's constantly taking classes and even though she's an amazing dancer, she's always a student first, and you can tell because she's so good at everything. I've been trying to get back to that. I just got to fix my back. It's too much of that, like TikTok dancing.
Sí. TikTok.
I can't do the whoa.
Bueno.
Y entonces ahorita ahí es donde te podemos contactar para estar, y sobre todo los que estén en el área, ¿no? Que puedan tener la oportunidad de, ya sea ellos o sus hijos, vivir una experiencia así.
Yeah, I would love it.
Perfecto. Jason, Sandra.
Agradecerte nada más por ser tan abierto, tan cariñoso. Nos ha encantado hablar contigo.
Yes, and I hope to meet each of you and have dinner with you.
Please,
yes.
Come to Perú.
Come to Houston.
Aquí, Eddie, aquí ya vino la Bel, ha venido 2 veces y yo tuve oportunidad de conocerlo y sí, lo llevamos unos tacos así famosísimos. Sí.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Ajá, sí, le encantó. Yes. Y sí, es una persona súper encantadora y sí, tuve oportunidad de estar así en la sala de un amigo a las 2 de la mañana, todos ahí platicando, cervezas, ¿no? Así, y era increíble, ¿no? Estar escuchando las historias de la Bel ahí contándonos a la bola ahí de fans que estábamos ahí, y se sentía la vibra, como tú dices, la sensación de unidad del grupo es una cosa muy importante, y con la gente que yo he tenido oportunidad de conocer, que trabajó con Michael, sí lo puedo confirmar, y eso definitivamente se pasa la pantalla, ¿no? Y pasa los años. Sí.
And I want everybody. Yeah, well, we're all going to get through this. It's going to happen sooner than later. It's like, it's so hot here today. 102.
Bueno, Jason también está en un hornito allá.
But I don't have air conditioning. Yo tengo una casa que it was built in 1903 and no hay aire.
Hoy
sí.
Sí. Jason,
me va a hacer flaquito porque hay tanto calor.
Ajá, estás ahí quemando calorías.
Mira que yo estoy en mi garaje también, ¿eh? Estoy en el garaje.
Estoy en la playa, en realidad.
También estamos como a 100 grados ahorita aquí en Texas. Pero aquí tengo un portable AC. Es lo que tengo, entonces ahí está.
Ya necesitamos coger algo porque...
Bueno, pues muchas gracias, Eddie, por aceptar haber estado con nosotros en este episodio que es en celebración del cumpleaños de Michael Jackson, en conjunción que hicimos con nuestro podcast hermano, The MJ Cast. Me da mucho gusto poder hablar de un tema que me conecta, y a muchos otros, con Michael Jackson, como es el baile, con alguien que fue parte de la historia del rey del pop, Michael Jackson, y que, mejor aún, alguien que es latino como nosotros.
Sí.
Es genial.
Gracias para todo.
Latino Power, ¿no? Ajá, sí, pues nos dará mucho gusto que nos lleguemos a encontrar en un futuro, y pues cualquier proyecto que tengas, que quieras que le comuniquemos a la comunidad que nos sigue y que podemos llegar, cuenta con ello. Con mucho gusto nos va a dar estar informando de tus proyectos y lo que nos quieras compartir. Y pues un abrazo, Eddie, muchísimas gracias. El feliz cumpleaños, entonces, ¿que la vas a poner mariachi, Jason? ¿No?
Deberíamos poner mariachi a Eddie.
El mariachi o la de cepillín. ¿O cuál?
Algo hay que hacer.
Sí. ¿Cuándo fue, Eddie? ¿El 11 tu cumpleaños?
Yeah,
¿Esta semana?
el 11, yeah.
¿Y cómo celebras? ¿Sí tuviste celebración?
Yo I hurt my back, so yo estaba, no sé nada. Yo estaba, porque no podía.
Estabas lastimado ese día.
Yeah.
No, entonces hay que cantarle las mañanitas, chicas. Si nadie se las cantó.
No.
Ok, 1, 2, 3. Estas son las mañanitas que canta el rey David a los muchachos.
Muchachos bonitos.
Se las cantamos aquí. Despierta, Eddie, despierta. Mira que ya amaneció. Ya los pajarillos cantan. La luna ya se metió.
Ya nada más falta soplarle al pastel, pero ya ves que eso ahorita está medio prohibido, ¿no? Entonces no se va a poder eso. Sí, pues te deseamos que tengas un muy buen año con todo
Gracias.
esto, pero sobre todo salud, que es lo que estamos viendo ahorita, que es lo más importante, que tengas mucha salud, que puedas seguir disfrutando de tu familia y que puedas seguir compartiendo con todos nosotros tus maravillosas historias y recuerdos que tienes para contarnos. Entonces, pues aquí tienes tu casa en Lima, en Houston y en la Ciudad de México. Para cuando podamos recuperar nuestras vidas normales, pues acá eres muy bienvenido, Eddie.
¿Nunca has venido a Houston a hacer algún?
No,
¿Sí?
yeah. I've done classes there, dance classes.
Okay.
Mira.
Sí lo has puesto en tu Instagram para checarte ahora que puedas venir, para ir a verte.
Yeah, yo te digo, sí, whenever I do stuff, I usually will post about it.
Para que le enseñes a hacer las vueltas.
Yes. Para que no se cae.
Sí.
Trucos.
Oye. No, es que yo soy muy tímido, igual no bailo, pero ahí veo, me gusta ver. Sí soy tímido, no me creen, pero sí soy. Oye, ¿qué zapatos usaban ustedes para bailar?
Distinto. Mine was kind of like a cowboy boot.
Oh, okay.
El mío, Michael was taller than me, so they wanted to make me a little taller. So if you look, we're all the same height. So our heels were a little different.
Ooh.
And then on the second tour, it was still kind of like a boot, but it was a different kind of boot.
Estabas como Prince con los tacos.
Yeah, not quite that tall, but yeah, his were like 4 inches. They're like,
Sí.
yeah, mine were like a cowboy boot. Yeah, yo lo tengo aquí.
Para el museo de Eddie.
Museo, sí.
Para el museo.
A excepción de la que te volaron.
La que se robaron, no está ahí.
La que se robaron, ¿no?
No.
Oye, Eddie, ¿nos podrías grabar